Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm just getting over this nonsense cold. All right, so here's the deal. Um, Working on this Ben 10 commission right here, and a couple days ago, I'd actually already drawn this. Problem was, I really wasn't liking this coloring that was going on, and I don't think I set it up right. I was using like a pastel base. Um, so I went and did some other tests. My goal here is to try to change a little bit of my rendering style. Like, I definitely want to do more color pencil in the future. Um, but with these are also based on time, right? Like, I can't spend 12 hours color penciling something uh, for these. These aren't, you know, at cons, these usually take me about 3 to 4 hours. Um, so I do about five. Um, I got 10 to do. So um, there's got to be a blend somewhere. So I went and did a test with color pencil and mineral oil spirits, whatever they call that, which, it gets me there, but it still eats up more time. And then I tried one with Copic base. So you can see a basic Copic here, and then this is the rendering I did over. You can kind of see the same here. So seems to be what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to do something similar to that. So I'll do like a simple Copic base and then render over with some color pencil. The downside is, because I was sick, I'm still sick, but it's not contagious. I didn't scan this in, right? So I had to go and redraw it and ink it from scratch for my roughie, looking at this and the photo I took online. So this was fun. I did this twice. So that being said, I'm gonna attempt to wrap this thing up, and I got a bunch of other shit to do. So we gotta move on with life. What am I doing? Black inks, red shade, base markers, or shit. All right. So this character's a little tonal. So 1, 2, 3. So this is just deviation from how I normally would just plow through this stuff. Um, so the trick is to make the new way the normal way. Yeah. Barely. Hey Kyle, you can hit me up on Skype if you want. Unless you're working. I don't even think my Skype's open. No, regardless whether you can or not, let me check. Whoa. Is it? Kyle's very similar to Egon. Hey, what's up, Kyle?
Just hanging out.
Yeah, my voice is still a little out there. But I got my strength back, so it sounds worse than it is. It was weird, man. Just one of those flights. It was like a very similar to whatever that crazy lady from X-Men. That was the last time I was sick. And the time before that, I hadn't been sick in 3 years. So I don't know, man. Planes, I don't know how those people who work on them, like the attendants or whatever, I don't know how they. I mean, I get the pilots can shield themselves from people. They have
Yeah.
that door, you know. But the flight attendants, fuck, man. I always wonder, is there like some secret like training period where they people just for like a month they just get sick over and over? You know, like maybe some of them die or they
You got to
they
build up their immunity.
yeah, they got to build up their immunity. You know, it's weird, man. But I was fine when I got back. It's just it was my schedule is I work. I'm up around 2. I got stuff to do around the house, um, and game cave stuff, writing, things like that, and room for chores and dinner. So I get started between 8 and 9 at night, and I work through till 7:30 a.m. So literally 30 minutes before I was I'm gonna go to work. I could, you ever feel that drippage? You know, you can feel in the back, and you're like, oh no, no, bust out the fucking ginger lemon, like actually cutting it up and making the special stuff, 30 minutes later, I was like in a fetal position. I'm like, nope, I'm down. Man down. Man down, So I figured maybe a day or two, but not the entire week. It's crazy. But,
What's,
I
I'm
mean, hmm?
gonna say what's funny is when I saw on your Instagram that you got sick. In my head, I just pictured you on an airplane next to the lady with all the keys and the belt bag.
It was very similar. I was next to an overweight, older guy. When I say overweight, I mean clearly just from beer. You know what I mean? Like one of those dudes. And you
Hmm.
go, well, Rob, he was overweight. You picking on him? Well, here's the thing, man. he just kept spilling into my seats. He had his fucking whole half body on. He should have had to buy two seats. Had his legs and arms. He was sweating on me and shit. It's fucking ridiculous, bro. You know.
I
And
gotta pay if my luggage is overweight.
you, if you can't fit in these small ass seats, then you gotta buy two seats. Because I don't know why I should have to. I don't. I mean, if I go to a movie theater and I just start hanging on people, you know what I'm saying, dude? I can be sued for assault, or you know what I mean. I can't just hang on people anywhere else. Only the fucking public bus system in America and the airplanes deal with this shit. And the buses don't cost fucking $1,000 to fly to. You know what I mean? Why do they get away with it? It's ridiculous. Yeah, ginger, honey, lemon, warm water is the best you can do. Problem is, after 5 days of drinking, you're like, oh god,
No,
you know.
no more.
Yeah, you start smelling it. You're like, oh fuck. Yeah, I mean, there's worse things in life. I'm not complaining. It's just, you know, a younger me would have just been over here not nasal dripping over art. But I'm like, I don't want to get people sick with the art too. You know what I mean? Like, here's another sketchcraft. Oh, and here's a piece of me. Do 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 do. You know. So
Just gotta spray it with some alcohol spray when you're done. Disinfect it.
right. So, but yeah, I'm definitely trying to like. I just want my. So back to this stuff, right? So, Kyle, you know you've been through a few commissions now with me. You know, every now and then I'm like go through a change.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm always trying to make my stuff just a little bit more artistic, a little bit less. Like I never want it to feel like here's just Rob knocking out fucking more commissions. You know, I just always want to. I like the art to feel somewhat artsy. There's some balance between fine art and pop art, and I don't know what it is. You know, I know some people get there sometimes, like Sam Keith. You know what I mean? And I think Paul Pope, and I think Mahfood can do it. You know, sometimes Mahfood goes off the deep end though, and you end up in that weird. You know, you end up in that weirder territory. You're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. You know,
Yeah.
like Ashley Wood has some great stuff, but I like it more controlled. You know,
Hmm.
so I think probably the best person. I mean, the master would be someone. You know, Norman Rockwell and Drew Struzan are probably the two that have still looks like a drawing. You know, but is incredibly artistic.
Hmm.
Like Alex Ross, I mean, his rendering. You sometimes you just think you're looking at photos, which is great, but doesn't. It's not quite what I, you know, get inspired by.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Jerry Vanderstilt, however you say his name.
I'm not familiar with the name. I probably know the art though.
He does like all. He does a lot of the new Star Wars art. Like he's like the new Dave Dorman.
Okay.
It's all like super realistic looking airbrush kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Dorman wasn't realistic. He just had that oil blend.
No, I just mean like Dave Dorman used to be like the Star Wars
He
painting
still
guy
is
back in the
for
day.
me. He still is for
And
me, man. Like his Dark Horse stuff is still dope, dude.
yeah, I feel like Vanderstilt's been kind of the popular guy lately. Like,
Really?
yeah,
I'll have to look. I know. I like
it's
Phil.
really cool stuff.
Oh, that's cool. I like Phil Noto stuff. You know, I super fucking fast that guy. You know, um, that's cool though. I like Dorman's Alien Predator stuff. Like for me,
Hmm.
that was always like my favorite. But so you know, man. One second. So anyhow, I thought I'd try to do some of that here, but
Hmm.
I have to be careful about how much time I'm spending on each thing because I've got a bunch of shit to do. So, and then moving forward, you know, like some people, I mean, you got to be careful too, man. Like, there's a big difference between a commission and spending 2 weeks on a piece of art, you know?
Yeah,
And I think that's like some people were trying to point me in the direction of like some YouTube artists that do more detailed stuff. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, they are not doing this in like 4, 6, 8 hours, you know? And you look
Yeah.
into it and you're like, oh, I spent a week just on this one part. You're like, yeah, why don't you be a little bit more honest about it? People think these things is getting done in the, you know, and either the same time as a YouTube video or a little bit more. Like, so, so, this is still got limits. But one of the things that prompted it too was I ended up doing this commission at Amazing Vegas Con. It was a Wolverine commission, and it was on a sketch cover. It's one of the older Marvel sketch covers, and they had these like glossier surfaces. Are you aware of those kind, Kyle? They have a little bit of a glossy surface. So when you put marker to it, it ends up like alcohol spreading out. I don't know how to describe it. Like it just slicks across the surface.
Hmm.
So like I started doing it. I'm like, this is not working. So I told the guy, I'm like, hey, why don't I just do this on my own paper at home and I'll ship it to you? Because he actually bought the tonal Logan that I did.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'll just, send it to you. And so when I came home, while I was getting all this stuff set up, I started doing experiments on, because I have a bunch of those older covers, just, they're not Wolverines, like Scarlet Spiders and shit. I'm like, why don't I try practicing on this stuff? After messing with fixative bases and everything else, the only thing that really seemed to work was color pencil and like ink and stuff. So I was like, well, maybe that's the way to do that. And I thought maybe I could do more of that across the board, because I enjoy working in the medium, but there is a limit to how much time. I mean, it's not a fast process because of coverage, and so then I started looking at coverage techniques with pastel, you know, bases or mineral oil spirit bases. I mean, just fucking ridiculous. While I'm over here dying.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, since I can't work on their stuff, I'll at least try to practice some of the stuff out. Um, and what I just came to is for these, I just came back to the marker base. I'm like, there's just not enough time, you know. So I could end up easily spending 8 hours on one piece,
Hmm.
and at a con, that's not going to help, like. So I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet. Other than to say that if I do, it would probably be more like just headshots, upper bodies. But who
Hmm.
knows if people even want. They always want more character, Kyle. I don't know what it. Can you draw more characters? I'm like, the smaller the details get, the less interesting the art actually pops. But I don't know. So that's where
Yeah.
I arrived at the test I did last night, where I can believe I can put some color pencil over this and find a happy medium for now.
Hmm.
No. You were gonna say something? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was gonna say I get that when I get commissions, I always ask for like half body or full body. I don't like just like the head.
Right. So,
Like I guess the only one I didn't do that with was a Albert Einstein commission I did because he's all about his like hair and mustache and
it's
stuff.
kind of a rarity for people to ask for an Einstein commission.
Yeah.
Only a man who talks like Egon would. You gonna announce your new job to everybody?
My new job.
Well, it's Sunday. I heard they're gonna announce the new Doctor Who. I thought
Oh,
they finally saw the light and cast Kyle right.
if only I had acting skills.
Yeah. So on top of all that, Brandon's computer still broke. His wife finally, it's like, I can't do this. So they're taking it into the Geek Squad, which that's a nightmare to deal with. I know,
Yeah.
right? He's like, all right, and already they were dicks to him. He's like, they're dicks. I'm like, yeah, that's what you got to deal with now. So I told him because they were supposed to be saving up for a second computer. And so at this point, I said, look, you still need to do that, but what I think you should do now is find a local community college or PC repair place, somewhere local that specializes in how to build a PC and build the second PC through that class and make your wife
Hmm.
do it. So she, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause she needs to know how to, like, she didn't know where her fucking SATA cable was and shit. So, you know, she needs to know how to repair her
Yeah,
materials. So,
I mean, YouTube. That's
bro,
how.
I tried. I
Yeah,
I tried kind of. Like, okay, I didn't try much because I'll be honest, I got enough going on. I'm like, you guys broke this. Here's what I recommend you do. You
yeah.
know, but you are gonna have to feel the pain on this one more than me. You know, I didn't break it, so
I mean, like, I grew up working on computers and stuff and was interested in them, but I didn't know anything about the internals. And then I was like, I'm gonna build a computer.
I would say the
There's so much information on the internet. It's like,
most intimidating part is just knowing what parts will be compatible with one another, and I think a lot of places have that down now. You know, they can give you builds.
oh yeah,
And so once you're past that, I think the second part is just I think if you have to, buy the CPU and put it onto a motherboard and you've never used, paste,
hmm,
that can be intimidating, right? Because even like clamping that CPU in for the first time, if you don't know how much pressure it's going to need, I don't know, like,
feel
and
like
then,
I'm breaking it.
yeah, you may feel like you're going to break it, which you're not, but, you'd have to really fucking Hulk smash that shit. But then there's cabling a system just takes practice, like to do it all like super efficient. But it's not that hard, man. Like, so I don't know, Dom. I don't know. We'll see who gets announced tomorrow. I don't get my hopes up about casting announcements because then you're like, I think they're gonna do, and then you show up and you're like, nope. Every time I expect them to announce a new Crow, they always cast someone that I'm like, that okay. Like the last one was Jason Momoa. I'm like, really? That's the Crow? He's a great actor, but I mean, the Crow is not, you know, a giant hulking dude. Like that's it's not quite it. The dog from the artist. It's funny.
Yeah, I got San Diego Comic Con next week.
Yeah, so you're going to that, huh?
Yeah,
Sounds so excited.
I I'm just tired. Like, work's been insane. Uh, Yesterday was my last day on that job, so I'm glad to have a few days off to kind of get a little caught up on rest and get some energy back.
I feel you on that one.
Have you seen any of the new movies yet, like Spider-Man or?
I have not been able to see Spider-Man. I thought I might be able to see it. The goal was to see it up in Indiana when I had to go up there. We had a family emergency thing, and we
Wait,
had
what
some
part of
down
Indiana?
Carmel near Indianapolis.
Okay,
We were
I
staying
was
right
just
outside the airport.
I was just in Indiana.
It would have been funny if you were there at the same time. Like, let's go to the Waffle House. Yay.
Yeah, I was up in South Bend.
I got you.
It's up north.
We went up to Nashville, in Nashville, Indiana.
I was gonna say wrong state, Rob.
No, no, this is Nashville, Indiana, bro. Um,
Yeah, kind of like they have.
it's
Is it like
it's like you ever been to Julian?
nah.
It's a little north east of San Diego. It's up in the mountains. It's like country gifts and shit like that.
Hmm.
It's like that. A lot of saltwater taffy and fudge shops. But we had some downtime and we're up there, and my nephew was up there, like, oh, we'll go see Spider-Man. Well, his mother wanted to go see Wonder Woman. I'm like, I've seen it 3 times. Like, I just can't responsibly spend more money on it at the theater. You know what I mean? Like, it's my limit for any movie. Only Jim Cameron can make me break that rule.
Yeah.
I saw Titanic like I think 9 times. Yeah, 7 when it came out, and twice in 3D. So, I mean, you go, oh, you like the love story? I'm like, I love the execution. When I think when you're 16, people just forget. Fuck, dude. They act like kids because they're annoying. Like people go, oh, it's not realistic. I'm like, have you seen? You forget how annoying young relationships are. Hang out with my niece. You know, it's not, everything's about life or death at that point in their life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
die if I don't have you. Like that. I thought it was incredibly realistic in that sense. But I love the execution of the film because it's one of those movies that wasn't supposed to work and did. So, and I mean, they physically. I mean, everyone talks about it's CGI, CGI. Well, they physically built that fucking ship, dicks. And how you could
Yeah.
shit on that film, I don't know. Because it's just. I guess once a film is so successful, you have to shit on it, right? That's the way it works.
Hmm.
Once this something is financially successful to a point, you're like, well, no one can like it now, and I don't really subscribe to that. So, well, Celine Dion aside, the James Horner soundtrack's fantastic. So, he took whatever he learned on Braveheart and just notched it up a ratchet or two. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping to catch Spider-Man 3 probably Monday. I think we're gonna do Plant or War for the Planet of the Apes tomorrow.
that's cool.
It's in that Michael Giacchino score.
Well, he's got War, and he did War and Spider-Man, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
did he?
yeah, he did Spider-Man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. I know.
Do it.
I fucking
Do
some
a
people shit on his Rogue One score. I loved it, and I can't believe he did it so quickly, you know.
yeah. He had like no time.
Yeah, but I really liked the score for Rogue One a lot. So
Have you had a chance to watch your 3D copy yet?
no, man, I'm not gonna. I just I li- you know I try to do the thing young Rob even 10 years ago would never do, and that's you're sick, you sleep as much as humanly possible.
Hmm.
The only thing I've been doing, that goes out beyond those bounds is I got to make my own soups and stuff. Like I make a chicken soup from scratch.
Hmm.
You drop the fuck. I mean, everything from scratch, bone broth from scratch, all that shit. Um, but my wife can't make that stuff, so I have to do it myself. And we've been house hunting a little bit, so those opportunities come at inopportune times. So I've had to get out the house to go do some of that stuff, and that's annoying because you're like, I really don't want to do this, but um, nothing yet. I mean, we put some stuff out there, but it's you got to find the right place at the right time with the right people. So my wife's like, it's never gonna happen. I'm like, it will, and then we got that to deal with. But Whatevs.
Yeah, I've just I've gotten way behind on my movie watching.
I gotta finish the last episode of Fargo season 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have been sick.
Oh, I really have. Yeah. Yeah, guys, man, I mean, here's the thing, because everyone always likes to complain about their health online, I
Hmm.
try never. Like if I'm not feeling well, I mean, I'll work not feeling well, but I don't talk about it. Because I mean, the day I want sympathy for my health is the day I'm like, I got Ebola. You know what I mean? Like that's some shit. I'll fucking be like, I got Ebola. And I'll brag to, like,
Yeah.
because I'm the monkey from Outbreak. Ha ha. Ha. But it's horrible. But whatever. I don't do those posts where it's like, it's 5 a.m. And I'm not feeling good, but I'm gonna get to work. Like I don't. What the fuck cares? Um, But this time, I'm like, everyone's waiting for shit. Like, some guys bought some stuff from the print shop as I was at con and right when I came back. Oh, no, what, no, what, right when they came back from con, they bought stuff. And then another guy bought something while I was in Indiana. So I got to get that shit out the door. Like, there's just, I saw, like, guys, I got publishers needing stuff. You guys, you know what I mean? Like, this fucking having to fly out to Indiana right after con was not the best thing. But it wasn't a good time for anybody. So what can you do? What can you do, Kyle? You know what I'm saying? What can you do? But the second I felt like I could actually move, I was like, hey, I can move around, and not, then I got to get to work. So,
Hmm.
need to find patience here. I'm fine, man. Especially when I got like, man, my buddy Joe, man, he's been living in the fucking hospital for the last month. He got some ear infection, dude, and they, they kept giving him antibiotics, and I mean, it just wasn't getting better. Then he started bleeding out his ear and shit. It was fucking crazy, dude. Then like you got some rare, weird disease from the infection. It's like 1 in 300,000 get it. So now he's just had to do surgery on him, and it's fucking nuts, man. So I'm like, I'm not gonna complain. It's just annoying,
Yeah.
you know. And then Brandon breaking his computer, ha ha ha. It's equally fucking annoying, you know.
Ah, house hunting, Dom. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a bit of a headache, dude. And, my wife takes it personal sometimes, and I'm like, look, you just can't, like what I mean, luckily I've been dealing with rejection my entire life, so I'm like, look, here's how you deal with this. It's time in, you know. You gotta. I mean, Kyle, this whole career we do is all about rejection. It's not. It's literally you like compliments. I'm like, honestly, man, like you guys are the ones who give compliments. When you're doing this shit for real, it's just constant criticism, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
just
when I get
nonstop.
compliments, I'm like, all right, what do you want? This can't be a
Yeah,
real compliment. You just want something.
yeah. In the real career world, not the internet, land. And I call it even these YouTube people are like, well, you make $6,000 a month on Patreon. Yeah, well, they're living in internet land. It's not real. Like it's lovely. I hope it lasts forever. Who knows? Um, but once you start doing this stuff, like with people are cutting checks, you never get compliments, man. Like it's so fucking rare. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, never a thank you, great job. It's just you turned your shit in, and yeah, you're right. If you do get a compliment, you're wondering like, what's the fucking motive? Like they start, especially when they start talking to you. I've had a few people a couple of times talk me up, and I'm like, what's coming? And they came. There was always some reason for it. So,
Yeah. Part of
whatever.
that might just be me not being able to take a compliment, but at
No, it's
least
the
at
industry.
least some of it's, yeah, the industry.
You could have taken the compliment at the beginning of your career. That's how I always check it. Did I go into this like this? No, no, I did not. They made that. That's how
They
they work.
created the monster that I am.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
You've been following any of the D23 stuff?
a little bit. My wife finally got sick, so I had to help her out.
Eh.
But I was looking at a little bit. Saw the making of video.
Oh, the Star Wars one?
Yeah, I'll always stop a few minutes for new Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
I like all the puppet creatures they were showing off in it a lot. You know, I'm a big, you know me, man. I'm a big fan of puppets, animatronics
Yep.
and shit. And they have some really cool, unique designs that don't just look like them trying to recreate every Muppet they've ever made. I just hope they give Captain Phasma something to do, because if they don't in this one, I'll be like, well, that character's, I just won't take that seriously ever again. Yeah. It's a shame because I really like the actors.
Hmm.
But I got a feeling they'll give her more to do. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I saw the Star Wars Land model yesterday, I think. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. So, look, I mean, Disney, they know what they're doing, in terms of building land. I mean, they made me like Cars Land, and I hate that fucking movie. So, well, on the series. So,
Hey, Brain Gamer. Yeah, Star Wars Hotel seems like it'd be cool. I don't know if I could justify staying there since I live like an hour away from Disneyland.
but you could walk in.
I could.
I only stayed at the Disneyland Hotel once, and that was for that Epic Mickey junket. They gave us the free room. It was really small. I was like, people pay how much for this shit? Like, well, if I got really access to the park, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you just get a place right up the block, one block up to the left. Totally reasonable. It took literally 3 minutes to walk. You know,
Hmm.
I'm like, is that what they tell you? It's easy access to the park. I'm like, some of the fixative I applied to this. It's creating a texture I don't like, but we'll see if it goes away when I add color pencil. If it doesn't, then next time I won't add the fixative before the I thought if I add it before the markers, it would keep the ink from smudging. But I don't. But maybe that texture will work out. Maybe I'll end up liking it. You never know. You never know.
What is this character from?
A cartoon called Ben 10.
Hmm, never heard of it.
Yeah, it's early 2000s, mid 2000s. I worked on it for a month or two toward the end of its current time span. It's from
Hmm.
a company called Man of Action. A bunch of comic book guys made that company. Joe Casey, a few of those guys. Um, and it was funny. 2001 Comic Con. I was walking around doing my thing where I always just look for the, I was telling you, I always try to look for that new thing. And I was like, and they had this thing of Man of Action. I'm like, what is that? What is Man of Action? Is that an actual comic? Like, no, it's a collective. We're put together a project for Hollywood. And what's his face was Batman artist, Batman animated artist. What's his name? God damn it. He's a big portly dude. Mike. Brain farting. Love his art, man. It's great. Really nice guy. I remember at the time I was talking about going to art school, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm just getting ready to pay off my student loans. It's been 20 years." Ha ha ha. I was laughing, but not so funny now. But they were cool dudes. So they went out and made Ben 10. You know. So cool part about it is this character's called Frankenstrike. It's like their take on Frankenstein. Cool part is when I post this, the final version, and I'll put it up on my regular page, which means Kevin will see it, and he'll be like, just thinking about how I could be drawing Monstroids. I'll be, ha, not gonna happen. This is me just kind of doing my Monstroids thing. I tell him like, you want to sell me? You want to give me half the fucking prize money? We can talk, but I don't see me drawing a comic for you on work for hire money, bro. You reaping the movie deal.
Yeah.
You know? How's that fair? He's like, I understand. I'm like, do you? Because you're not like even entertaining the idea. you know? What it says to me, look, he's a good guy, but he's a businessman like anything else. And it's like, do you really care about this, or are you just trying to sell stuff? You know what I mean? I'm like, if you really cared about this, you know, you'd fucking go on partners on it, Because let's be honest, dude, like that project would work only because of the amount of effort I put into it.
Hmm.
Sorry to say, Kevin, but yeah. I've seen he's hired some artists to do realistic versions of the Monstroids. It's not good. I've seen the art from respected artists. I don't get it. Bit intimidating. Yeah, I would just start with tonal Copics, man. You know, and add color as you want to attempt a character. You know, I really got the process down by doing watercolor for so many years. Like 2, 3 years. So
Is that just because it's a little bit similar with the
yeah, it's very
like
similar.
building up layers?
Yeah, you're going from light to dark
Yeah.
versus an opaque medium like acrylic or oil where you just play it down and build up the light sources.
Hmm.
I seem to think light to dark. Anyhow, because I think it's because I do a whole drawing first, and a lot of painting is done, opaque painting is done with basically like the silhouette technique where you kind of like block in stuff and you build up form through rendering.
Hmm.
But I'm drawing a lot of details through like silhouettes. So I think when I do those color roughies, the color roughies are more like painting with acrylics in that sense, right? Or oils. But yeah. In this case, I'm mostly using this stuff for coverage. Like to sit here and get all this stuff in with the base color pencil means I have to. It's a lot of your hand doing this for hours on hours on hours, which I don't have with these smaller commissions. You
Yeah.
don't have hours and hours and hours. Well, every piece can be a Rick and Morty special, right, Kyle?
Most people shouldn't be a Rick and Morty special.
I feel like there's a lot of effort for a very straightforward end result. It wasn't like all that effort was evident in the final piece. It was just a lot of what I'm doing now, and what I don't know. It's because of that piece, but whatever.
Oh, well, you're welcome then.
Yeah. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Kyle. Where would Rob be? This one is.
I'd like to thank Rob for letting me be his inspiration.
Is that what we're calling it? That encyclopedia of art I sent you? You deal with
Yes.
this. Here's all the bullshit. You find the space for this nonsense. His character isn't hard, except I personally find he has this patchwork skin. Parts of it are cream, gray. I don't know, and then cool. It scares me things like that because when it's a digital cartoon, you just pick from a swatch and drop the colors. But when you're sitting here like trying to do that with traditional medium, especially like with markers or anything that's got a transparent base, you're like, I don't know if that'll work. You gotta be
Hmm.
like, it can look really weird, you know. Um, and you go, well, it's just a commission. It was a stupid commission. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have that in me, you know. I tend to go,
Hmm.
well, if that's stupid, then I just won't do it, like, because I just don't want it in my portfolio. So I just sit there and like, okay, is it warm? Is it warm gray? Is it this? What is it? Like, it was a lot of spent too much time. So now I know it's not something haven't really had to deal with that yet. The closest would be sometimes those video game characters have some weird colorations to them, because they can add. Worst thing you can do, man, when you're doing this kind of stuff and you have to work with limited colors and you get like a complicated character, like one of those League of Legends characters or Battleborn, one of these characters that were obviously designed in CGI and get glows everywhere. Is you got to like do a minimal color version of that character. Because
Hmm.
the more colors you start throwing into it, it's just going to look like this weird. Like those coloring books for adults where they're just like noodling in peacock feathers and shit. It's just
Yeah.
it's not going to have that pop. Um, I like the colors to off the page, and that
Yeah.
only
You get
works. Huh?
So you get too much in there, and it just looks like a mush of everything just sort of mushes together.
And sometimes they pick colors that you're like, what were they fucking thinking? You know, like especially modern cartoons. I don't know, some of the art direction of modern cartoons I just don't much appreciate. Um, but like this color of his legs, he has this weird armor thing, is really more of a greenish, but it's a color that doesn't exist in life. Like you're like, okay, that's great. Like his greens are really that that annoying lime green
Yeah,
they only do in cartoon. Like they do it in cartoons all the time now. I don't know why. I hate it. Weird. The first time I ever saw it in a cartoon, I think it was like Treasure Planet. It's like I hate this. What is this green that's in the fucking? There's no yellow core to it. It's just ugly green. So
Hector recommends using glitter sticks.
Yeah, no.
Maybe some puffy paint.
Hey man, I've seen people do it. They're like, "Oh, puffy paint to Spider-Man to make his webs pop out." I'm like, man, I guess because I did T-shirts, I know. Like I've already been there. When it comes to techniques, like glitter in T-shirts for boys is called well, it's not glitter because they can't put if you call it that, a boy hears about it in America.
Metal flake.
Oh God, what's the I see it's already been like you tend to forget it, you know.
Yeah.
In it like if you put it into white, it has a sparkly effect, and so then it works. But it's fucking glitter, dude. Like sparkle, I think it's some shit like that. Shimmer, I think it's a shimmer is like a fake foil looking thing. Anyhow, but I've done that for kids' clothing, you know. And they tried to do it for like this last place I was with tried to do it for men's clothing with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They try to do this high density, which is this thick. You can get like a mil thickness on the shirt. So for kids, you would want to do it for like lettering, or sometimes if you got like a BMX license and you want to put like a block of some effect and like a logo. Like remember No Fear? Like if you wanted to do a high density No Fear, pop some up. On Spider-Man, you would add high density to his webs to pop them up so you could feel the shirt. You go to Walmart, you can feel it. Oh, look, I can feel it. Kids like to feel their clothing, you know? Oh, there's a nifty. They thought they would do that for guys, so they did like a blister puff or a high density. So it's like it's raised, but it adds a texture for men's, dude. And it's like no guy's gonna walk around with a giant.
Unless
Not,
they combine it with hypercolor, then I would buy it.
not in the numbers we did hypercolor. Like with Amazing Spider-Man 1, at the place before, they brought hypercolor back.
Really?
Every few years they try to do it. It killed the clothing industry in the 80s. It did. I had to hear this from people because in 2007 they brought it back for kids with SpongeBob, and it was the SpongeBob gets a sunburn, so he'd go from yellow to red. So they made it a beach shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was trying to do it with Charlie Brown, you know, because we had the shitty fucking licenses. And they're like, oh, these, yeah, I know. And they're like, well, you know, these things, there was older guys working there. And they're like, this I couldn't pay my mortgage because of this, you know. I'm like, oh, you guys. Remember all the Hot Wheels used to do that? Hot Wheels will change color from this to that. So when Amazing Spider-Man came out, they tried to bring it back for men's. And they had hypercolor, heat activated is what they were calling it. It's heat activated. Well, here's the thing. You put the heat activated shirt on, and you touch it, and you're like, oh, look, and it reacts to your hand. You heat on your hand. And so you go, oh, that changes. Except when you start to wear it around, you sweat, right? And guess what the first thing that pops out?
Your armpits.
No, man, it's even worse. Your nipples. Apparently, there's a lot of warmth on a man's nipples. Like, because this guy walked out, I'm like, you fucking nipples are. Hold on, I'm gonna laugh. Because I know what that looked like, Kyle. I was there. I was dying, dude. I was like, oh my God, because no one, at the whole time they've been on the table for like a month and we're all feeling the different effects. I'm like, well, these look cool. Maybe we can make this work. So for a month, everyone was getting hyped up. And when they finally brought in the shirts to test him, he's just these fucking super hyper color nipples, bro. And each one was a different color. So it was like he had a red nipple on the right and like a green nipple. Oh, it was hilarious. And there's something funnier than that. So on top of that, a guy who hadn't been there for he had transferred from their old place to this new place. Anyway, a new artist came in, and so he goes up to touch it, and the shirt didn't react to his hand. And he's like, I don't know if it's working. And I touched it. It's fine. Everyone else touched it. He touched it. It doesn't work. And so I bring up the other sample. He touched it. Nothing. Another sample. Nothing. And then I looked at him. I'm like, you don't have any soul. Like that's not, like it's not. Are you a vampire? Like because it reacts to heat. I guess he just it didn't work for him, man. Oh gosh, it's good times. It's good fun times. And then I had to have a talking to. You can't tell the employees I don't have souls, Rob. It's like, well, what do you want me to say? I'm like, I'm willing to have that right up in my record. You have to explain that story,
Yeah.
No, this time.
So I went to Kansas City a couple days ago for work and decided to go to this barbecue place that was close to our hotel. It's supposed to be one of the best barbecue places. Now I'm walking there. I'm waiting at the crosswalk. My thing comes on, so I start crossing, and this guy just comes around the corner, almost runs over me. Like if I hadn't stopped walking, he would have just plowed into me.
Yeah.
This is why I never look at my phone when I'm crossing the street.
Chances are he was looking at his phone while you were crossing the street.
Well, I hit his car because he would have hit me, so I just smacked his car really hard as he drove past me.
And that man was Dick Cheney.
I always told myself if someone was going to run over me in the crosswalk, I was going to hit their car on purpose. And the moment came up, and I was already ready. The decision had been made a long time ago.
Well, my buddy Joe, who's all sick. I hate to pick on him, but fuck it. So we were roommates, right? And I had this apartment I called the Sketchpad because we're both artists and shit. And I found this track where I was trying to do some minimal running to try to improve my back situation, but I just have flat feet, so it wasn't working out. I ended up just giving up. I would walk the track instead of run. Well, Joe was like, I like running, man. I want to run. I'm like, well, just run the track. He's like, I don't like running around in circles. I'm like, you're going to leave the house? Yeah. You're going to run, right? And you're going to come back? Yeah. That's a giant circle, stupid. Like, it doesn't, if you come back, it's a 360 no matter, he doesn't. So I told him, I said, the danger, I'm like, Joe, I was in the Army, man. And every day we had to run out in the traffic, in the German traffic. You know what I mean? Like, you run on the streets. And you got a bunch of guys looking out for you, but only so much, It's morning, people aren't looking for you, they don't like you're in your country, you're in their country anyway, I told him, I said, you can get hit by a car. And he was like, no. So, a couple days into it, he comes back limping. What happened? I got hit by a car, dude. A hit and run. They took off. They clipped him and just kept going. Fucking he didn't crack. He almost cracked a rib, but he bruised. He's like, I saw their license plate. I was like, well, good luck reporting that one. Poor guy. It's like I told you to use the track. This is funny. He's like, well, I don't like running in circles. I'm like, you're coming back, right? Yeah. I'm like, then you make a circle. He's like, oh, Rob, you always got to be a wise. I'm like, am I being a wise ass, Kyle? Like, you could say tracks are boring, to which I'd say, you know, then find a park to run in. But running out on the street is fucking dangerous as shit, dude.
Yeah.
You know? I tempted fate enough in the army, man, with that stupid shit. I mean, it's like one thing tempting fate going to a war, but it's just in the morning running. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to selectively choose which fate I'm going to tempt here. Like,
Like, it's one thing to die in war. It's another thing to die running in traffic.
yeah. Do we have to do this? Like, because I don't really care. Like, I lose my breath so badly when I run because of my feet and shit that I can't enjoy any scenery. You know, like running around a building every day is the same amount of fucking nonsense for me as if I got to run through Disneyland. I would hate both. You know, so it just knocks my flat feet knock the fucking wind right out of me. Can't breathe. They're like, you got to control your breathing. I'm like, no, I'm not designed for this shit. You get arch supports. I tried that. They don't help. Whatever. It was funny. It was like when I first met Joe, it was 2001, and he had just kind of introduced him to the internet. I mean, he knew it. He knew what eBay was because he worked at this comic shop, but he wasn't really using it. Wasn't on there much, and so I got him on, and he's like, "I took an IQ test," because I'm like, "Oh no, online?" Because I've done that actual IQ. You know, it's a timed. Things are timed. There's 5 different parts, you know, depending on which one you take. You have to have a professional there. They time you. It's similar to the SATs in a lot of way, you know. Like sometimes there's like building things, you know. I'm like, you just answered a bunch of questions on the internet. And now you think you're a genius. He's like, no, no, no. I'm like, it's comparable within. I'm like, what was your score? He's like 146. I'm like, you're not smarter than Einstein. Like, I love you, dude, but you can't. Don't. So anytime he named some shit like done like running in circles, you know. I'm like, all right, 146. He's like, you never forget. I'm like, I don't make stupid claims about how. So when I was a kid, everyone I knew had like kids always want to claim they have some special power, you know. I don't know if you had friends who were always like, I read at the college grade level. I'm like, you can't finish fucking one novel on your own, man. Like, I don't, you know, okay, so you can comprehend, but you know, I mean, who cares?
College in what country?
Like, you know, everybody, y'all got super special powers. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
hex sketch.
So, I was the
My
only one
chamber
willing
is
to
full of
say,
hex.
I know, I was the only one I knew who was willing to say, I'm kind of dumb. You know, like, I'm not stupid, but I know I'm not a genius. I've met one of my father's employees. And when I say employee, this guy only did it because it was fun for him and it was easy money.
Hmm.
He was a Mensa fucking guy. He was legitimately one of the smartest dudes. He used to do pro motorbike stunts in competitions until he lost the lower half of his right leg in a motorbike incident at one of those fucking things. But he was former, and like Mensa people, they're so smart they don't apply themselves much. You know, so he always had one. I hate to say one leg in, given he was missing half a leg, but he always had one. He had his one remaining foot in poverty half the time, just because you know things bored him. But talking to that guy was like, okay, so this dude's super fucking smart. Like, so when my friends would claim how smart they were, I'm like, I don't know, man. I know a smart guy. Like, you're not him. No one in this school is that smart. Yeah. It's okay to fucking have a limit. Why does everyone, I don't know, college? And then now you realize, well, what college, right? But remember in the 80s, college was taken somewhat serious, you know. It's like my friends admit they have kids. I have to get updates on how smart their kids are. And he's just so smart. I'm like, because you're a good parent. What are you going to do? Tell me how dumb he is? You know? Kid's a fucking moron. Like, because you're not a bad person. Like, just be mean. Say the otherwise. But I don't need the updates. And I say this not because I'm some, like, guy who doesn't have kids and I want to hear it. I say it because as a kid, my mom did it once and it embarrassed the shit out of me. I did nothing once. My mom, you know, we had this, we were one of those 80s divorces when divorce wasn't talked about. So they got divorced in 84, you know? And right when I finished the first grade, and 84, 85, somewhere around there. Anyhow, uh, and my father's Hispanic, but not really, because he was raised in a foster home in the States. And so he didn't speak Spanish, he just looked the part. And so my mom was like, I'm going full Mexican now. And so I mean, I had to live in Mexico like half the year. And so I immediately went from peanut butter and jelly to like literally, I went from peanut butter and jelly. The very next day, my mom was making chorizo and mole. Chorizo and eggs and mole, man. And for a 6-year-old kid to be eating that, I mean, it was a culture shock for me. So my mom wanted me to learn how to speak Spanish. And I just didn't have the patience, man. I was like, I don't want to learn. I know how to speak. I'm 6. I'm like, I just learned how to speak. Why do I have to learn how to speak in another language? You know? And so I was always trying to find a shortcut around it. Like maybe it's just English backwards, or like I was trying to find some not spending time. But my mom was like insistent that I could do something, and the only thing I could kind of do was she wanted me to roll my R's, which I couldn't do. So one day, it took me like a year to figure out how to do this, Kyle. I figured it out because I wasn't a very smart kid, and my mom was so impressed by the rolling of the R's, she called every fucking Hispanic friend she had, bro, and then proceeded to make me do it over the phone. It was fucking 9 o'clock at night. Like, it's one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. You know, I was like, please don't make me do it.
And then you learn your lesson not to excel at anything.
Huh? Oh no, just to only excel at the things I'm willing to fucking be embarrassed by if it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like if this doesn't work out here, and sometimes, guys, you've been there, right? Like, matter of fact, the video before this, I mean, that's what this one is. It wasn't working out. I chucked it. Um, you were there that night. Were you there, Kyle, when I chucked the Okami one? You've been there when I've chucked a few drawings, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's not working. I mean, you got a stack of them, actually. So, you know. But I also learned that sometimes you're just not as good at something as people tell you you are. Like, my mom was just so impressed that I did something. And I'm like, the fucking 3-year-old down the street's rolling his R's perfect. This is not something to be proud of. I just don't want to do it in any way, shape, or form, you know? And you're making me do it, and now I have to sit here and to all your friends, you know, can he actually speak Spanish? No? Oh, well, you know, it's kind of stupid. Like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not fucking, I'm a kid. So I learned to work in drawings. I learned very quickly with my art talent that no matter what country I was in, a bathroom looked like a bathroom. If I drew a toilet, they knew what I was talking about. If I drew a taco, they knew what I was talking about. You know, and you could say, well, you could just work in pictures. Well, everyone's fucking talking in emojis now, bro. So who won out? You know, like really, you know. The funny part is, I don't use emojis. Isn't that weird?
Ever?
I don't.
Wow.
I don't like them. You know. Maybe it's because I draw so much. I'm like, sometimes but you know, I prefer to talk. That's why I tell you, just pick up the fucking mic. I don't. the way my mind works to try to limit it to like, I mean, to limit, that's funny. I have a very hard time just like, I'll start to type a thought and go, fuck that shit. Like, it's only worth doing for like real writing. For useless internet shit, I'm like, this is not worth the effort. So, the thumbs up one. Yeah, the thumbs up one's easy because it's right there. And half the time, the thumbs up one doesn't work. So, the weird one is Instagram. When people send you messages, they don't give you the thumbs up, they give you a heart. I'm like, that always looks weird. You know, some guys, I want to get a commission. You heart them, you know? Like, what am I supposed to hug you? Seems a little too enthusiastic.
My biggest problem with emoji is that they're not totally standardized between iOS and Android. So you send one thing and it shows up as something else. Like,
Uh,
like I don't get what you're trying to convey with this weird face. I'm like, that's not the face that it makes on my phone. It would
yeah.
have made way more sense if it looked like it does on my end of things.
I'll convey things in memes to friends. You've received a few of those.
Yeah,
I don't do it too much online because I don't like. If I do a meme online, it's usually one I made, so it's rare because I don't want to spend the time making memes. But but yeah, with friends, I have a few already set up. You've gotten a few. And you're always like, am I really speaking to Rob? Rob doesn't. He just sent me a picture. Yeah, Key and Peele memes. You know, got like a grip of them saved. We all like to brag about how idiotic our kids are. That's awesome. Well, there's something to be said about having to prove your worth a little bit, you know. But I mean, I just feel somewhat fortunate that I do. I definitely feel fortunate I was able to go to Comic Con so early in life because you know then you get to see the level of talent out there. You don't build up in your head. You think you're the world's greatest artist. You get some of that false bravado or whatever you want to call it.
I believe it's called Hope, Rob. You don't want that false
Well,
hope.
let me tell you that the false hope is really, you know, when you start thinking like, what are the odds I can pay a mortgage with this fucking career, you know? And they go, well, I don't really care about that stuff. I just want to be able to like have enough to survive. And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna find as you get older, you know, that cost of living goes up.
Yeah. Surviving is very expensive.
Yeah, the only way to stabilize that, there's only a few options you got here, folks. You know, so yeah, whatever. It's hard to tell 20 something, you know, anything. So I can't convince people to go see a movie half the fucking time. What good can I do with anything else? can't hear you. Can't hear you,
Can't
Kyle.
can't hear what?
Now I can hear you. Oh, I thought you were talking. Sound like you were
Nope.
talking. Oh, they're listening in. They didn't listen. I thought the computers do all that shit. They don't listen in anymore.
No, you may have picked up. My phone was uh, David Peterson's doing a live stream,
Oh, okay.
so,
Yeah.
so I was just peeking in on what he was doing. But then it ended, and now it's back.
All right. Let me see here. Where's my? Where is? There we go.
Have you watched Samurai Jack?
The new season or the original?
Just the original.
The original. Yeah, I haven't been able to watch the new season yet.
You liked it pretty well?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was the last time I went to Comic Con as a fan. I stood in line to get into one of the halls for the Samurai Jack premiere and the Justice League cartoon premiere. Same room. And it was 8 hours to get to that fucking line. And the Justice League was up first, and I couldn't get in for it because they don't make you leave, you know.
Yeah.
And but enough people left afterward, and no one sat around for the Samurai Jack, so I was able to get into that one. And that was from the guy who did Powerpuff Girls,
hmm
which I was a huge fan of. So
Okay.
I was expecting it to be more like Powerpuff Girls, and then when I watch them, I'm like, this is more like Akira Kurosawa. This is it's a lot of long, slow shots. I'm like, I love it, but I don't know if anyone else is gonna like it. But yeah, I liked it. Somewhere between like Kurosawa and Cronenberg. Weird creatures. But it can be it can build an uncomfortable vibe, you know. Have you seen it?
I had a bunch of people recommend it to me, and so I got just the first disc from Netflix the other week, and so I'm about halfway through season one, and it's all right. I I just I don't know if it's just I wasn't in the right mood for watching it or what, but I'm not like, oh, this is amazing. It's one of those things.
Well,
I
it's
like
2000.
it,
You're talking
okay.
2000 like two,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So like a lot's come out since then, bro. You know what I mean? Like you got Rick and Morty now. You got Invader Zim. You know, you got a grip of it. You got Attack on Titan. I don't
hmm
see how you could see Attack on Titan and then go see Samurai Jack for the first time and think like that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But and in 2002, Samurai Jack was breaking a lot of new ground for Western cartoons. You know,
Later, Hector.
later heck. Um, I mean, there was plenty of cool anime, but not a lot of people were watching it. You know,
hmm
like maybe Sailor Moon and shit like that. I mean, even to this day, I have the hardest time getting people. You know, you mentioned even I mentioned Evangelion. They're like, "What's you know, what's
Yeah,
that?" It's like, all right, well, Dragon Ball? Like, no, not Dragon Ball. Um, but it builds up a nice continuity.
hmm
The show, you know. So I definitely can appreciate it from that standpoint.
yeah. I mean, I'll keep making my way through it. It's just I wasn't sure if maybe it was one that started off just okay and got a lot better, or if it's
Well,
just something that maybe I'm just isn't.
I don't think how do I say this? Because people are like, you don't like it? No, I like it. I don't think it had the same impact on me as when I saw Powerpuff Girls was live. Like, this is like a version of Charlie's Angels that's like way over the top with little
Hmm.
girls, and it's a satire. So Samurai Jack has a lot of, I mean, it has a lot of just sitting there looking at a moody painting, but it's a Mary Blair simplistic style painting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you'll have these shots where they're holding in on like essentially just a silhouette and eyes. You know, like it's not normally you hold in on things that are a little bit more complex. You know,
Yeah.
and they're just incredibly simple drawings, and they're doing that with, and it's not bad. It's just it's different, right? Like,
Yeah, I suppose that's probably one of my biggest critiques is they do a lot of that just holding on shots where I'm like, I'm not sure why they're holding on it. I feel like they're just trying to pad out their time to make their episode length by doing a bunch of these
the way I look at it,
long holds that don't necessarily add like narrative tension or anything.
right? I think they were trying to develop the tool set to do it. And I think they do it better as it goes along.
Okay.
So I think they were just trying to, how do we build tension in a 22-minute cartoon?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially
Yeah.
when you're dealing with networks that don't want that. No,
Hmm.
no studio's like, please build a slow moving, like cartoon where you're just sitting there and two characters are like looking at one another and you're trying to build, some Sergio Leone slash Kurosawa style, like, you know, guys looking across you from the room, kind of like shit, fucking like. So they're
It's a tough thing to pull off in a 22-minute episode because,
yeah,
within a movie, contextually, like those long, slow shots are a very small percentage of the film. Whereas a 22-minute show is like,
and they usually have a place on Earth that has complexity to it, right? Like foliage, a
mhm,
town.
something
You're looking
to
at
look at.
SpongeBrush half the fucking time, a SpongeBrush background, you
Yeah.
know. But that being said, you start to build a cadence. It builds its own cadence, you know.
Hmm.
I think they perfected a bit of that balance when after they did Samurai Jack, they went and did those Clone Wars cartoons, the little mini ones that were 2 minutes long, and so they were able to like take a lot of the tools with nonverbal storytelling into that cartoon. And
Okay.
I don't know how you get to that cartoon without having done as many episodes of Samurai Jack as they did.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what they've pulled off now to see if it's more of the same or if they've built off that, you know? But there are worse things you can watch. You know what I'm saying? By a long shot.
Oh,
I'll sit
yeah,
through,
for sure.
yeah, I'll sit through Samurai Jack before I'll sit through one fucking Spider-Man cartoon ever again, you know?
Yeah, I just heard all these just glowing reviews from people I knew, so I
It's
got
it,
it.
it gets a little overrated praise. Like it's a little I think it's from people who've never seen stuff like that too. Like I
Hmm.
don't see a lot of my friends sitting around watching Yojimbo for fun. You know what I mean? Like when I go to the
Uh,
dentist and they give me, Netflix or Hulu, I turn on Kurosawa. At least when they have the Criterion collection. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I always put on something with a foreign language so the dentist can't be sitting there watching TV. Like, because you want to put on Family Guy, I'm like, I don't want you watching Family Guy while you're working on my mouth. Like, you know what I'm saying, dude? So like, I'll put on Kurosawa if I can. If not, I'll put on Shakespeare. I'll get the fucking David Tennant Shakespeare, Hamlet or some shit up, as I know they'll be focused. I don't want you having to. You just focus on fixing my mouth. I don't.
Yeah, we
Family
don't
Guy.
need any distractions.
Family Guy. I can barely watch. I mean, I spill my food. How do you do that? How do you work on teeth and watch Family Guy? I don't know, guys.
That's why you're not a dentist, Rob. Couldn't figure that out.
It's a lot of reasons. I don't want to look at my own mouth, let alone other people's. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time and pacing. Yeah. It did a lot of good for a cartoon. It's one of those cartoons that just shouldn't exist and does. That being said, there's cartoons that have come since then that do it too, like Horse, Jack Bowman, whatever the fucking
BoJack Horseman.
BoJack. It does a lot of that stuff too, right? In different ways.
Yeah,
So
but I really liked BoJack from episode one. I was like, oh, this is brilliant.
yeah, but I don't think you can make BoJack Horseman in 2001, 2002.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, so I think some of those things exist because other stuff has come
yeah, and
along.
I guess that was why I was asking about Samurai Jack, because I wasn't sure if it was getting praise because it was kind of the first to do a lot of that stuff, and
Yeah.
it's not like it's great. It's more, oh, it's a trailblazer, but there's so much better stuff now, or if it was good regardless of what's come after.
It's like trying, look, it's like the first Star Wars film. And you're like, the special effects are great. But yeah, but I mean, they were groundbreaking for 1977. You know what I mean? Like, are they great?
2017.
You know what I mean? Well, they're great. Yeah, they're great because for when they were done, yeah, what they did. But that ain't gonna fly today. You know what I mean? Like, you can't use those models with that kind of shot where it kind of looms down on a. You imagine putting that in a Thor movie?
Yeah,
You know, no one would put
yeah,
up with. They go, the fucking special effects suck. Like, no, but they look great on Star Wars. So I have a friend, an art friend, who's very low attention span. So,
hmm
like, he wouldn't sit through. He wouldn't sit through Nemo. He would the first time, and he'd appreciate it from a technical standpoint. But because it has an emotional character arc, he wouldn't give a shit. He'd sit through Shark's Tale because it has more jokes. So you understand what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Like, right. So, and I'm like, yeah, but they're shitty jokes. Like, no, it's fun. And I'm like, maybe we just don't have the same fucking sensibilities. I tried to get him to sit through that first episode of Samurai Jack. He's just killing those bugs over
hmm
and over and over. And I knew it wasn't going to go well, but I just wanted him to like suffer a little bit. Like, hold on. He hated it. It was the best. It just wouldn't stop. Oh, hold on. I'm laughing so much. Remember, he just turned his head to the window, like, you know how you used to look out at the end of school waiting for the last few minutes before the bell
Yeah,
would ring? Made me so happy just to watch him hate that experience. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's weird because my favorite movie is like 3.5 hour, 4 hours long, Seven Samurai,
But you
which,
have those 4 hours to build stuff up. It's just because they're
yeah,
trying to do it in 22 minutes. They
yeah.
get better at it. But I don't know if they ever get to the point where I'm like, this is the greatest. No, it's cool.
Okay. Like I said, I'll keep watching it. I don't dislike it. I was just expected more from it, I guess, just
I
based on the hype.
I think based on what they were trying to do at the time, they accomplished more of it with the Clone Wars shorts.
Hmm.
You know, um, maybe it's because they were shorter. I don't know. But I'm definitely looking forward to sitting through uh, the new
New season.
season. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm. I gotta tell you, man. Like, as cool as they made some more Samurai Jack, I'm bummed as shit that he never got to make that Popeye film.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because I love that fucking. And I've worked
that
on
test
Popeye. I don't.
footage.
Yeah, I've had to work on Popeye shirts. I'm not a big fan of Popeye. I like some of the older stuff, like the one where he's on the my neighbor, this kid that I still talk to online. He used to, he was a bit of an artist, so I always help him out. But he had this Popeye, and it was like the Arabian Nights or whatever, or Sinbad. It's like a Sinbad one, and we used to watch that all the fucking time. And so I like that Popeye one, but yeah, that fucking short was amazing. Like so, I didn't like that Hotel Transylvania or nothing. You know, not my thing.
Yeah, I'm curious how the new Tick live action is going to play out because I feel like the live action just always looks so weird to me for the Tick.
Well, did you watch the pilot?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So I didn't want to sit through the pilot. But one night, I was like, I don't feel like drawing. I have those nights every now and then where I'm like, I don't feel like doing this. And so when I hit that point, I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not going to go well. And it could throw me out for days. So I'm like, I'm going to go sit around and watch. So I'm like, I'll sit through this Tick fucking pilot. And because I was like, let's see what Wally Pfister did after that horrible Transcendence film. Let's see what he was up to. Because he
Yeah.
directed it. But what I was interested in was that Bob Englund wrote it. Like, well, this, I mean, he did write this, so there has to be something here. Um, it, and this is the pilot, but it it had this weird combination of like Kick-Ass,
Hmm.
where there's humor, but then like incredible violence. But then there'd be super cartoony humor, and then there'd be like a couple shots where they're trying to be the Dark Knight, where I'm like it didn't know, like in a typical pilot, it doesn't know what it's trying to be. But the thing I thought I'd hate the most was the guy playing the Tick, because I didn't like the costume. I thought it looked stupid. It just looked
Hmm.
weirdly textured, weirdly textured. Um, and he didn't look the part, it didn't really look like he didn't have the big chin. I mean, he had a chin, but you know,
It's
um,
no Bruce Campbell.
he's no Bruce Campbell. I mean, now, or what was the guy that played him from Seinfeld? What's that
Patrick
guy?
Warburton.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Warburton looked like the Tick, but the Warburton voice didn't sound like the Tick, especially compared to the cartoon. Um, but the best parts of that pilot was whenever the Tick showed up, because the one thing about the Tick that I always took away from the comic or the cartoon was that he generally disturbs people. Like the Tick is, he's supposed to give you like a unsettling feeling. Like he's not all here. He's a little bit like Don Quixote. Like he's Don Quixote if he actually had superpowers. He's seeing something we're not. Like I wish we could just do a whole episode where you see it through Tick's fucking vision. Like what does the world look like through? They did a version, not of the Tick. They did something like that, similar to Team Fortress 2. So Team Fortress 2 is a game, right? That Valve put out, and it has like a toy kind of like thing to it. And each character is a class, and so you had Demolition, Tank, and you had this Pyro guy. And then they made these series of short cartoons from each one of those class characters' point of view. Um, they get to Pyro, and because Pyro, all he does, he has a gas mask and he lights things on fire. But when you see it through his eyes, he just sees unicorns and rainbows. Like he's like sprinkling glitter across the world, and people are just like being napalm to death. Like he, like I was like, that was the best one they did. It was like the fourth or fifth one down the pike. Like that kind of storytelling. I'm like, you don't arrive at that first shot out.
Hmm.
But I saw that and I was like, man, that the Tick. How do you see so the pilot got his voice is actually the closest to the cartoon I've it grows on you. Like, oh, actually, it's very like the cartoon without being it, but it works. And the dialogue, because Bette Edlund wrote it, is the Tick. I mean, the dialogue without question is the Tick. And there's times when he does that Tick shit, and you just look at him like, are you, like those Tickisms? Like, freedom is something that smells with da da da. And you're just like, are you fucking, this guy's fucking crazy. Um, saw the new trailer for the new season. I don't know if they've got that balance figured out yet, you know? Still looks like it's kind of running the gamut, you know? But I would say this, if you wanted to watch the pilot, just skip through it until you see the Tick appear. Because the most of the episode is heavy exposition and it's a lot of repeated exposition. So like like Kyle when they try to do world building, quote unquote. And so what they'll do is they'll put someone in a car and turn on the radio and try to like just tell you everything about the universe. It doesn't do a very good job of that. Like it's like Arthur will get in the car or a cab, and then it's like, you'll hear things about and the previous, Fantastic Four did this and fought the Doom and no, but where have they been? Like it's just shit that doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't have any context for anything you're seeing in this episode. It doesn't. There's no emotional. It just they think they're doing something that stuff that you do in a comic because you have limited time doesn't work so well on screen. I don't think telling people the universe in a movie slash a place where you have the time to do it. I mean, it's like a long pilot. Yeah. And Arthur has a sister. I don't know if he had a sister in the comics, but in this one he has a sister. I wasn't feeling that whole combination of things. But the Tick was genuinely weird, man. And I say weird, you're going to be like, when you go watch it, you come back, you'll be like, he's weird. And I'm like, that is the Tick. The Tick is genuinely weird. It's crazy how their villain looks more like Magneto than the Magneto in the movies does. I'll check out the new show just because the guy playing the Tick is actually pretty good at it. I don't think he got enough credit. Is it better than the cartoon? No. What is? The Tick cartoon was genius. That's some shit I'm like, you want me to vouch for some shit? I'll vouch for the Tick cartoon any day of the week. Sidekicks Lounge should have won that fucking Emmy.
Oh, speaking of Shaun of the Dead, I saw Baby Driver
Oh yeah.
and enjoyed it. It was fun.
Sarah Finowitz. Sarah Finowitz. He was in Shaun of the Dead? I don't remember that. That's Patrick Warburton, and he played the Tick. And he wasn't a very good Tick in my opinion. I'll tell you why. Warburton. How do I say this, man? Warburton. He looked it, but I just didn't. You remember that show, man, with the Warburton Tick?
The live action?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. I just found it visually off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, the budget wasn't there back in the day. But
Well, not even that. Just the fact it was live action. Just it didn't feel. It felt cheap. And
I'm with you, but I gave it a shot because what do we have at the time? What did we have, Kyle? We didn't have much. You know what I mean? I mean, I had Batman and Robin coming out in the theaters, so I had to take what I could get. Um, I just don't think Patrick Warburton was a very good Tick, and I don't know why that is. It seems like he should be. It's kind of like wizard casting when you think I'm gonna go cast that guy who looks just like that part. Like nobody would have cast Heath Ledger as the Joker,
Yeah.
except apparently Chris Nolan. Like so. You know, I just don't think Warburton had the. There's something about the Tick's cadence. There's a cadence. I hate to liken it to Shakespeare because it's not. You know, the iambic pentameter. There's a cadence to how Tick talks with those Tickisms
Hmm.
that Warburton doesn't. He just has Warburton talk, and he wasn't really doing much of the Warburton. He was like sticking it up a little bit too. He shicked it up a little bit, like I don't, Tick is like committed. He's like, we're gonna go, like when he punches someone and they go through a ceiling, that's like smelling the daisies for the Tick. Like he likes like him open up a can of coffee in the morning. Ah, coffee. Double decaf of justice. Punch a guy through the fucking wall. Or he's not even punching. Guys are trying to kill him, and they're just bouncing off him. He doesn't even notice it. Just weird. There's a weirdness to the Tick. I think it's because we see that giant chin, and you're like, he has a giant chin. But I'm not one of those guys who thinks you cast Batman for the chin.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, Ben Affleck has a great chin. I don't think that's why you cast Ben Affleck. So I actually think this guy, Peter Serafinowicz, whatever his name is, fuck, that's a hard name, Serafinowicz. Um, I he did a really good job, and I was like shocked because I did not expect to. It's like when people tell me the best Batman is Kevin Conroy's animated Batman, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, he don't look a fucking thing like. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's because he's just doing the voice. Like if Kevin Conroy had to play the role physically in a movie, that ain't working. You know, like he don't look like Bruce Wayne. Like he's a great voice. Well, I know, but so you want an animated film? Well, no. I mean, I had a friend argue this. A smart man once argued this one with me. I was like, "What are you trying to say? You just want a radio drama? What do you want? You don't." So, and as much as I love the animated series, I mean, there's a lot of weird, stilted jokes that don't always pay off. Even Harley.
Yeah.
There's times Harley says some shit where you're like, I don't know what the fuck they're, like, you're like, all right, it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. Okay. That played in the movie, we'd be fucking ripping it up, you know? Cartoons do have it a little easier.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone acted just like the cartoon Tick in a show, I mean, exactly like it. But I do think the Tick is somewhere between, uh, like The Office and a little bit of Kick-Ass, and then a little bit of like a. When I say The Office, I mean like there's that reality TV aspect of the Tick before there was the reality TV. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, it should be fun. It shouldn't be a dark, and there's a darkness to that fucking pilot too. That I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna work for the Tick. You know, like James Gunn's Super. That is definitely too dark for the Tick.
I love Super.
You know what I mean? Incredibly violent.
Yeah. No butting in line.
Yeah. People are
Like
like, it's like, go ahead.
every time someone takes cuts in line, just say, "Where's someone with a giant crescent wrench?" And just smash them in the head. Teach them.
But I mean, somewhere between like Kick-Ass and like Lego Batman is the Tick. And if I had to narrow it down, because part of the show, part of the allure of the Tick is it is parody.
Hmm.
You know, it's a superhero parody before that was a thing. So, well, I mean, not entirely true. The Batman TV series kind of pioneered that, right? Hmm. It's eating up a little more time than I wanted. But I would watch the Tick over that Inhumans fucking show any day of the week. That looks pretty fucking horrible.
At least we have Punisher coming this year,
Well, hopefully
supposedly.
Defenders is cool. I mean, it's the Daredevil dudes. It's because
Yeah.
Iron Fist is in it. You know, doesn't mean we can't let him ruin everything. What did you think about the trailer for Orville?
The Seth MacFarlane
Uh huh.
show. Um, it looks basically like a pilot that I shot a few years back,
Oh, for
except
Galaxy
with
Quest.
this post Galaxy Quest
Uh huh. Uh-huh.
before Orville.
You just didn't have Seth MacFarlane to push it through, right?
Nah, we had a like Walter Koenig was in it.
He has no pull.
Nah, not with modern audiences.
He was in Babylon 5, right? I believe so.
Possibly.
I believe so, Kyle. You should know. You're a
I,
geek.
I I just know him from I never watched Babylon 5.
He played a villain slash psychic dude. Played a bad. Like, I don't want to say bad guy, but it was like a chaotic good. You know, he was good in that. I didn't like the show much because I preferred. It's tough, right? It's Deep Space Nine or Babylon 5, and Deep Space Nine obviously came from Straczynski's pitch. It's pretty well known. He pitched that, and they passed on it, and he made Babylon 5, and then they made Deep Space. He's like, you just fucking stole my pitch. Uh, Babylon 5 doesn't have Quark.
Rom Dog or
And
Cork.
I know. But what I mean, look, there's a lot of great stuff on that show, but that's what makes it for me. Like,
I love that episode where they all go back in time.
Oh
They're like
yeah.
they're Roswell aliens.
Oh, and they think they're gonna do dealings with the fucking government in the 40s, and they're like, "We're gonna dissect these. Like, you guys are vicious. You guys, hilarious." Everyone's smoking. They did a good job of that too. I was shocked how much smoking they worked into that, even for the time on network TV. That wasn't common to see smoking on TV at the time. Like they did a good job. I mean, it is the 40s.
Yeah,
You never saw it on Agent Carter. I mean, I liked that first season that they did, the Agent Carter series. No one was smoking, bro. I was like, come on.
not not period accurate.
Oh, it's the Disney Channel. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but you want to show history? You want to Disney history? It's Disney history. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people were smoking in the Rocketeer. My guess is they won't be doing it in the Rocketeers when they get around to making that sequel.
I'll see. If I can direct Rocketeers, then we have everybody smoke all the time. It's like
The
every scene
Smoketeers
is just people smoking.
for no reason.
And if it's a modern adaptation, they'll all just have bongs and e-cigarettes. Take
Vape.
place in Colorado. Yeah, they'll just be vaping.
No one looks cool doing that.
And
You
there'll
know?
be some sort of great joke about getting high in there. I don't know.
I like how when I was a kid, it was like, well, the reason why they smoke so much in the movies because it just gives them something to do and they look cool. And I'm like, not vapors. Everyone's sitting around with like I mean, the vaping thing literally looks like something like one of those reject aliens in the background of a Star Trek show would be doing. They put some weird tricorder like fucking thing up to their face and white smoke puffs out. I'm like, for real? Like you would be like, cheesy alien thing. People are
Real
really
life
doing
is
it.
cheesy, man.
I hate real life, man. That's why you think why do you think I draw characters that look like this? You think it's because I can't draw people? I could draw people. I just fucking hate them. Like,
No, well, I don't want to bring it up. I thought maybe it's a sore spot that you were just incapable.
Yeah, I went to actually draw Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I ended up with this. Like I
You're
don't know
like, ah,
how did I get there?
I don't know how to do it, guys. I'm gonna draw people.
I know.
It's funny when I was looking at this character. This guy I'm getting commission from, and he does all like super tiny hands on all his characters. I'm like, it's like the total opposite of Rob's guy.
I wouldn't draw
Hands are
everyone
tiny.
with giant hands.
Oh no, I know that.
Yeah, I don't believe a one body type fits all scenario.
Yeah, Rick had normal sized hands
Yeah.
relative to the rest of his character.
If I was
Proportions.
drawing Rogue, she wouldn't have giant feet and giant hands. It's like I would, you know what I'm saying, man? Like
She might have giant hands if you have her smashing through something.
I give them bigger feet when they're younger because people are awkwardly built.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I was like, did you ever read the comic Impulse?
Impulse?
Yeah,
No.
that's a good run, man. So Mark Waid wrote it, Humberto Ramos drew it. It's mid '90s, and it deals with Bart Allen. So Barry Allen's one of the few DC comics I used to buy every month. And it dealt with his nephew from the future. And he's got an Obi-Wan Max, which is one of the earlier Flashes. And anyhow, but Ramos used to draw big feet, but Impulse had absurdly large feet. I'm like, well, it's because he's younger. He's ill proportioned. So when you see this kid with giant feet running, it's hilarious. Flop, 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 flop. Like, but I wouldn't just, I mean, this guy's a giant monster, dude. He should have giant hands. Problem with drawing characters like this is when you have to do it for a full book like Moss Raids, and you're like, how do they hold a cup of coffee? I'm sitting there like, how do they pick things up? You know, like when they're at a, like I'd get these panels where it's like they're at a control board, having a conversation, you know, and I'm like, well, how do they even fit in the room? What's the scale of everything? You know, I mean, it would be drawn smaller, right? Or maybe they look more proportioned. I don't know how you. I see why artists just stick to realism because you're like, well, everything scales easier. You know, like if this guy had to get into a Prius, what would that look like? You know what I mean? You're like, huh? You
Be
know?
like the Incredibles.
Yeah,
Incredible. He
yeah,
basically wears his car.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much.
What's up, Jamal?
Hey, what's up, dude?
Welcome to the stream. So I was reading that, speaking of Incredibles, Incredibles 2 is supposed to take place like immediately after Incredibles 1.
That's what I was hoping they would do. A lot of people are like, well, time will have passed. I don't want any time to pass. Just pick up right when the Underminer shows up. So it's animated, dude. You know?
Yeah. We don't need all the kids from Incredibles to now be adults.
Yeah. It's that part where Western audiences think too much, you know? But the time have changed. You just shut up. It's a cartoon, man. I don't want fucking Uncle Scrooge. If DuckTales just continued, he should be dead, right? It should just be Uncle Scrooge's corpse in an urn, hopping around, following. Wouldn't it be great if it was like an urn and the ghost of Scrooge was hanging out, like a genie, and then traveling with him? Like they put his ashes in some mystical urn, and hey, I went on travels with. There's a whole nother version of DuckTales out there that would horrify Disney executives. I would love to pitch it though. Yeah, he'll be in an urn. Like we open up with the death of Scrooge, but we stick him in this thing, and then he gets to go on further adventures beyond the grave. But he can see ghost land, so we can see like ghost versions of previous dudes who would have. I don't know. It's like Frighteners meets fucking. Let's watch these executives get horrified.
Hey, Psychotech, thanks for joining the stream.
Yeah, my schedule's been a little erratic with the recent events.
Family stuff, getting sick.
Yeah.
No bueno. Yeah, I felt like I was getting sick this last week. And the only time I ever get sick is when I don't get enough sleep. And
Hmm.
like production was sending out call sheets for the next day, like, oh, call time. Like, well, that's like 7 hours from now. You should probably told me like 2 hours ago so I could have gone to bed. And I start getting sick because you guys aren't giving me enough sleep time.
Because you got to be up before the call time, right? I mean, you got to
Oh
be
yeah.
there. You got to be there before setting everything up, right?
Well, no, call times weren't supposed to show up, but
Okay.
if I need like 8.5 hours of sleep,
Smart man.
and so when I get my call sheet 7 hours before I have to be there, it's like, well, come on, guys. Like, it's fine if I don't get enough sleep because I choose to not sleep, but it's not okay for you guys to decide for me that I don't get to get enough sleep. But so yeah, I was starting to feel a little bit sick, but fortunately, it was like shoot a few days, then have a few days off. So every time I'd not get enough sleep working, and then I'd start feeling sick. Then I'd go home and sleep for a few days, get the proper amount of sleep. I'm like, all right, I'm good again.
Apparently, I only get sick when I get stuck next to patient zero.
Yep.
My fucking lot in life.
You just can't go anywhere, Rob.
Man, I tried not to.
Sick people follow you.
I tried not to. I was so happy when I came back from con not sick. I'm like, I did it. I beat the odds. I'm like, why do I ever do that? You know? Why would I ever? I can never tempt fate, man. You know?
Yeah, just say it's your fault for jinxing it.
Yeah. All right. Let me see. Yeah, that fixative created a certain kind of texture I shouldn't have done. Lesson learned. Dude's just gonna have to deal with it because I'm not doing this again.
How many of these commissions do you have?
A grip. A grip, but I can get them done over the next 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
They're all drawn and printed up. So as long as I'm not
Okay.
over here over fucking thinking it, you know, it'll be fine. I just some of the stuff I've been doing with some of the Copics I just felt has been going a little too streaky for me. I don't know how to describe it. And when I start to feel that way, whether it's true or not, when I start to feel I'm going down a certain path, I think I might be entering parody time. So I get that's when I have to stop and slow down and think about, am I over? And what am I doing? What am I not? What am I feeling about this? Is not, it's not resonating with me so much. Everyone else can fucking pat Rob on the back, but I don't. So I want to be responsible with time, but at the same time, I don't want to start to churn things out at the expense of like I can't look at it. I mean, it's tough at cons because, like, I mean, you have non-negotiable time. You know, the only thing you can negotiate is taking things on, not taking things on,
Hmm.
and then you're dealing with the fatigue of just having to do a bunch of other shit, then go back to your room and draw. You know, so and it's in a very uncomfortable. It's usually in a very uncomfortable position. I was working at this desk that just had this weird chair that was killing my back. It's weird. So, the one thing I didn't anticipate, I put on a different kind of fixative before I did this that I hadn't done before, thinking, oh, it's just like that other fixative, but no. So it's definitely got some texturing I'm not too keen on, but nothing anyone would notice but me, you know? Like, I know what I want it to look like, but I want it to look like a certain thing in a certain amount of time, so I need to. Part of that meant you got to be comfortable with your process for that to happen, you know? It's got to be like, yeah, I do this and I do that, I do this. And I've been pretty good at it, but uh, I don't want to just rely on doing the whole thing in Copics because I don't. At some point, I start to just see these weird Sharpie drawings. And again, I don't know, when I say artistic, there's just something, almost a little more artsy than, here's Rob Copic, do 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 do. Like, so it's ever developing sense of like, I don't know if style's the word about it, but yeah. Haven't quite hit it yet. And then, when you get presented with a weird fucking cover, sketch cover, where you're like, okay, so all of my tool sets and everything I've learned how to do doesn't work with this. And it's like, well, just don't accept those. I'm like, how am I going to know? Because you can't really feel it cover type.
Hmm.
So perhaps my instincts for what I'm doing is, so a lot of artists go, well, that's why I don't do color covers. I'm like, I'm not popular enough to dictate. Like, no one's going, I just want, like, I think you get a black and white drawing from people who are either one, geniuses at it, and I'm not really good with, like, I see things in hue more than value.
Hmm.
My strengths lie with color more than, I'm not going to be an inker that renders a whole thing in black and white. And there's some guys who are just fucking really good at it. I don't know what his name is. He's some dude. I was looking at some on Twitter the other day, and he was like, "Here's my commission," and it's like this shit, finding this giant monster, and it's like the white, just the end of the monster, like the lines stop, and it just becomes this big white underlight. And I'm like, I don't think like that.
Hmm.
Like I don't. You could, I could spend the next 10 years in my room trying to. I don't think I'm gonna think like that. So, you know,
I was gonna say, do you think that maybe part of that is since all your art, you're kind of a one man band and you have to do everything, that your brain is just
no.
trained
Since I was
to
a
I'm
little
adding
kid,
color?
no. Since I was a kid, I always got color.
Okay.
Matter of fact, before I ever knew how to draw, my coloring books were super specific. When I did grass, when I would color grass on something, I remember this. One of the earliest memories I have, it was like 3 or 4. I had a Heckle and Jekyll coloring book, and so I would make sure the grass had like yellow first and then green, and I would go with a dark green around the grass to make certain it just had to have that look. I had to have this glowy look. Like when I would watch Poltergeist, I would look at the way the light was flaring through, and color would seep in.
Hmm.
Like so I always think like if my parents my parents, both of them were law enforcement types, man. So an artist was just not something they were prepared to deal with, you
Yeah.
know? And so had they been more prepared to deal with it, if they had got me into like a painting thing when I was really young, um, would have probably made more sense. Um, Problem is, by the time I got to junior high, where we actually had art classes, because we didn't have art classes any of my elementary shit. Um, it was it was about subject material that I just didn't care about. I didn't want to fucking paint fruit. You know, like I just wasn't interested in painting apples, man. I didn't look at an apple and go, I just want to eat the apple. I was like, I'll eat that shit. You know, I don't want to fucking paint it. It's gonna make me hungry. I wanted to paint the skull, the Punisher logo, or you know what I mean? Like, just wasn't happening.
Hmm. My sister just texted me with a screenshot from the Tick trailer.
Yeah, it's not 100%, dude, but I guarantee you just watch the scenes with the Tick, and you'll know it because he never changes his outfit. He's always
Yeah,
the big blue guy. You will have a
that's so random because probably haven't talked to my sister about the Tick ever since the cartoon was out, way back when. And then we were talking about it, and now she texts me.
coincidence. Well, you know the Matrix.
Yeah, it's all a simulation. That was that was my catchphrase for this last project I was working on. Anytime our producer would be like, "Oh, that's weird," I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a simulation. Don't worry about it."
Glitch, you know.
Yeah. If something went wrong, they're like, "Ah, oh, this isn't working." I'm like, "Ah, don't worry, man. It's just a simulation. Doesn't matter."
They're just gonna flush you down a toilet with you know what I mean? It's gonna end up in a vat of body fluids
Yeah.
when they're done with you. This is funny. That fixative I put on is creating this texture that won't allow me to get my little pencil strokes. So, lesson learned. All that effort, and I still can't do what I wanted to do. It's hilarious. Oh well, I got like 9 more. It'll look pretty enough.
Eventually figure it out, right?
Well, one thing I did go back to doing was doing the base inks with that German burnt sienna ink. I stopped doing that for about a year. So, matter of fact, I had exactly a year because the last time I did it was for this commissions I did at PhoenixCon last year. So, I'll only use it when I need to do everything all in one. If I was going to draw it separately, then I'll just use the Copics. But if it's an all in one, it just has a brighter visual. Even like the red wine or the sienna Copics, they don't. This ink has a glow to it
Hmm.
on flesh and stuff. Really works out nice. I like the way it looks. So
Are these going to be getting your distressed ink backgrounds or just
yeah, of
characters?
course. They all get
Okay.
that. That's like the easiest part. It takes like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, super easy. Yeah, I think if I had to catchphrase what I'm trying to do, ultimately, once it all comes together, is somewhere between like, cell animation and Struzan. You know what I mean? Like some weird blend between that. Not his photorealistic, just the pencil, with the textures and the way the pencil. I like the little marks. Yeah. Like when you hold it, you can see. Some people don't, you know. But yeah, this would actually be way smoother if I hadn't put that on. That's really good to know. I just can't justify starting over again. I miss cell animation. Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass to do that. Painting cells, man. I've done it a couple times. Fucking sucks. That's why I got mad respect, man, for older animation. Even especially older anime. I'm like, I don't even know how you could. Some of that shit's so fucking tedious. Like, there's an anime called Record of Lodoss War. You ever heard that one?
No.
It's an anime Dungeons and Dragons. Like the first episode, it's like a party of, got the dwarf, the elf, the hero, the wizard, and they're in a dungeon fighting a dragon for treasure. But it's all anime, and it's got some serious shit to it. Everything is fucking hand drawn and colored and hand inked. Every little effect, and I just have to like appreciate like that shit was fucking hard, like, especially like those. Like I watched some of the Japanese, versions of the Transformers. I did come over here, and you're like, man, all that shit they hand animated those fucking, you just like that. I don't know.
I've often wondered how they did like the hand painted cells and keep it looking so consistent.
Codes.
Like, I know it's an opaque ink, so it's not dependent on how much you lay down, but I'm just like, how do they keep the lines so clean and you don't see like any like wiggle in the transitions between like say dark green?
I'll tell you how,
light
dude.
green.
Yeah, they start them when they're young.
Yeah.
See, that's what I've said before. In the East, art is taught at such a young age. It's taught as a vocation, not and here we teach art as an expression.
Yeah.
So over there, everyone learns to animate, everyone learns to draw, because at the very least, you can go work in if all else fails, you can go work at a slave shop and animate for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So they all get taught fundamentals. Our line quality, perspective, all that shit. What they're not taught is to sit around and develop, modern art. Here's how I throw this shit at the wall, and here's the way my shit looks. They get taught how to fit in a group, and be held to a standard quickly. As such, it really helps when you have a base drawing style where you're like, a lot of stuff's going to look the same, but we don't give a shit. It's what we're going to do with it that's going to be impressive, It's not, they're not. We're over here, it was like every cartoon needs to look different. One looks like Duckman, the other one looks like the Batman animated series, the other one looks like fucking Garfield and Friends, Everything has to have its own look. And they got a generic base look down pretty quickly and was like, all right, let's just fucking focus on animating crazy with it. doing different things. But yeah, they start that shit when they're young. So by the time you move up, you're like, drawing with my arm, douche, 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 douche. It's crazy. When I was in the third grade, we had a Taiwanese foreign exchange student. I mean, in the third grade. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, this year my mom, because his family lived down there, they sent him over here for a year. You know? He could already fucking draw, bro. It's like kicking all our asses and shit. I'm like, you know? It's like, well, he's the best. You know? I'm fine with that. Kid was fucking badass artist, even in the third grade. We're all sitting around drawing like our Optimus Primes are like, his was actually like 3-dimensional. You know, like you're like way ahead of the curve. Like we all had to look at drawings and redraw them. He's just fucking drawing shit. He understood perspective. That's what I think. That's one of the things that put it in my head. I need to know perspective. I need to really get this thing down. But man, there is no dude. You couldn't go to the library and get a perspective book when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like kids is on just like
Well, why don't you just hop on YouTube and watch the tutorial?
right. Like that's all I'm just trying to say, man. Guys, I don't want to be like, well, you know, when I was a kid, man, my library didn't have those kinds of books. You know, and they certainly didn't have comics. They had some collected Peanuts comics from the 50s, so I was able to read the original Peanuts stuff, which I quickly found out was far superior to the one that was in the fucking newspaper. It read more like Calvin and Hobbes, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing to an art book would be like they'd have like pictures of fully rendered ducks and shit. Wildlife books. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, you know. I want to draw Optimus Prime.
Here's a fruit basket.
Yeah, that was years later.
Yeah.
We only had one semi-art lesson when I was in elementary. This guy came in. His name was Mike, and he was like going to teach us principles of animation. And it's that same. You ever seen that stretch and squash walk? It's this little like looks like kind of like bone. It's this guy walking. It's made its way around. But I'm like, I'm in the fifth grade. I'm like, well, stretch and squash. I didn't understand how to draw things without copying, let alone how to make things move and what an in between was. It was very advanced, fucking, for me. Like I didn't. It was incredibly limited. I wasn't able to get my hands on those tools until the sixth grade. Our teacher finally sat down and said, here is 1-point perspective. Here is 2-point perspective. And I went into the library and got the Marvel Way book.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a hard time with those books. I'll tell you why. So in those books, they do step 1, and they show you like a stick figure. Step 2, then they put, you know, construction shapes on the stick figure. Step 3, they turn the shapes into muscles. Step 4, then they add the definition and clothes and shit like that. Step 5, final links. Now, usually it was like 4 steps. I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be the same drawing or if they would draw one and then draw them again at the second. Like, I didn't understand. I didn't understand that that's the same drawing that you would just continue on. I thought they were doing a new drawing every time. I'm like, I don't. Am I trying to learn each step individually, or am I just supposed to work on the same drawing? And it's. I know it sounds incredibly simple, but I didn't have anyone to ask those questions to. My father was not a person you could ask questions.
Hmm.
He just didn't want to hear it. He was like, "Is the laundry folded? You got free time to be asking questions about art?" So I remember asking my art teacher. She just looked really annoyed with me. It's crazy, man. I remember I met her. It was my first class. We had homeroom, and I was like, "What's homeroom?" And they're like, "Well, it's where you go first." I'm like, "That's just." I was just used to going to a teacher. I didn't know you had to have multiple classes and shit. And so I'm sitting there because I didn't want to be late, so I got there way early. And I'm sitting there. Oh, by the way, my father never once explained school to me. He was like, "So you're gonna have this," like that was never happened. So never in the history of my life did my father ever sit down and help me with homework. He would go, "You're in school, you figure it out." Like he wasn't being mean. It's just he just didn't. He had other shit to do. He didn't want to. He's like, I guess he was like, "I did that shit. You figure." So I was like, ah. So I'm sitting there, and she shows up, and she's like, "Oh, she was real nice to me for those." It was like the one time she was nice. It was like this moment we had this conversation before class started, and I was telling her who my fifth grade teacher was, and she told me that was her teacher. And I'm like, she's old, ha ha ha. Not our teacher, but my previous was really old. I'm like, yeah, she's so old. Anyway, and we got in, and I thought it was going to be something really cool because when I got in, she had this one of those. She had two posters up. The Batman movie had just come out, the Tim Burton one.
Hmm.
And so she had two Michael Keaton Batman and the Joker poster on the wall, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit." That's where I sat down, right facing those. You know, like I was like, "That's my seat, looking right at Batman." So I thought she's gonna be way into fucking comics. I'm gonna learn how to do some stuff, and immediately she was like, "I hate comics." I'm like, "Why is this on your wall?" Like. Like, what is that? She's like, "Oh, my husband likes that." So her husband taught science at the same school. And when you go into his room, he had this is weird, right? He collected Gamorrean Guard. You know what that is?
Morian Guard,
Yeah.
like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know in the past few years that's become a running joke on the Howard Stern show because they went to this Comic Con and they met this guy who's supposed to be Gamorrean Guard. And so now they always bring it up, like, "Oh, Gamorrean Guard." But in 1990, I met a teacher who only collected Gamorrean Guard toys. He had, in his science room, a whole glass case devoted to just endless Gamorrean Guard toys, dolls, whatever. Now, this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Star Wars was already, people were like, "That old movie?" My friends didn't want to hear about it. I love Star Wars. So I was like, "This guy's cool." I did find it weird that his wife was, let's just say she had a similar physique. I was like, "You like a Gamorrean Guard." He was a cool guy. He was a cool guy, man. He was a totally cool guy. He looked like remember the Micro Machines dude that talked really fast?
Hmm.
He looked like that guy. He was a cool guy. His wife was a horrendous piece of fucking shit. Like, she was nice to me once, and she just made my life miserable, man. She'd go out of my way to anything I did that was, and I would work comics into everything. If we had to sculpt a diorama, it was the Batcave. She's like, "You can't do Batman." I was like, "It's the Punisher's fucking war. You can't do guns." And I was like, "It's the Danger Room." I had this endless supply. It's the Turtles' fucking sewer lair. You can't. It's, you know. And every time I'd start, she'd think I was doing something normal, and then I'd fill it in with like, some comic book shit. Like, she'd be so let down. Oh man, it's hilarious. And I think the point where I just gave up on that shit with her was we had to do a sculpture thing where you sculpt a bust, right? So it's like It had to be shoulders and head. And it had to be, you could be whatever you want it to be. I wanted to do a Rocketeer because that movie was getting ready to come out. I just thought the Rocketeer looked cool, you know? So I wanted to do the Rocketeer because I thought the helmet looked awesome. And a buddy of mine was horrible at art. He's like, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. I'm like, do Batman. Sculpt a Batman. He's like, that's fucking hard. I'm like, I'll help you because I knew exactly how I wanted to do mine. And so I sat there helping him with this fucking Batman bust. Now, man, I'm in the sixth grade, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying this shit looked like fucking a Disney maquette, but I was happy with it. Matter of fact, it's one of those things I had to learn in life where it's like you shouldn't put more effort into someone else's project than your own. Like I got so
Yeah.
much into helping him with his shit. Well, and she saw me helping him every day. So when we got done with these busts, they got put into the art show, and he won best fucking thing. He's like, "Yeah, I totally fucking did it," and he took full credit, man. It's hilarious, dude. I didn't feel it was hilarious at the time. I was like, he totally, and she was like, and she just like sat back, like laughing. I remember like laughing about it. And I was like all distressed. So I learned a good lesson about doing the fucking work versus guiding people. My first real lesson. That's why I told Brown, I'm not fixing your art. I'll give you the advice, but you have to go fucking do it. You know. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, we sat there a year ago. He's like, could you just do like a little sketch? I'm like, no, I could just do the whole fucking thing and keep the money. You know? Like if you don't have the ability to do a base drawing, then you shouldn't be getting paid to do this, Brandon. Is that so hard a fucking thing to grasp here? You know? Whatever shitty thing you do, they're paying for it. So make that. But it all comes down to that time I put too much effort into someone else's art project and they won a prize for it, an award. Yeah.
It's all making sense now, Rob.
I know we keep it real here. I find my life to be an open book. It's an incredibly boring book. You know, it repeats itself a lot, but yeah, yeah. This texture was actually counterintuitive. This would this is incredibly frustrating. I need to let it go. Pisses me off. Should not have done that. The benefit was I thought when I was working on the other version, when I was doing this, it was smudging my my inks. But given what I was getting out of it, I'd rather have that than what I'm currently getting. I'm like, I can't keep doing this shit, man. I'm like, whatever. Move on. Understand, folks, I want to. I want to right now just start right over. Because this comes a point where you spent so much time on it, you're like, I may as well see the version I was trying to make. It's taking this fucking long. But
Hello, Serge. I hope I'm saying that right.
no, you're not doing. If you aren't, you're not doing that out of disrespect.
Yeah, Uh, doing the best I can.
As a guy who has unusual to pronounce last name, I'm like, people are like, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're not making fun of me. You know what I mean? You just don't know which way to go. You're trying. So I'm not, how can I get mad at that?
Yeah, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
keep seeing these articles that I'm sure people are just writing for clickbait about. It's always like, is this the end of Netflix? Because Netflix has put out a couple shows that have been kind of crappy.
Do you
So
know they make over $1 billion a month?
that's
Like,
great. And people are like, it's the end. They put out this terrible show. They've lost their magic touch. Like, well, really? I mean, did you not see Master of None? Stranger Things? I mean,
and fucking Glow. Have you watched that?
yeah.
I mean, who else is gonna put out a fucking? I mean, I watched Glow when the shit was real. Man, it was tough. When
Like real women wrestling?
it was real. It was real, man.
Yeah.
Like it was called Glow. And here's the thing. First, I was like, well,
Oh, it was?
yeah. So this is real, right? So like
Oh,
now the show they
know
couldn't
that.
get the rights to the name, so they had to make up new people. But
Hmm.
it's fucking real. Like this shit went down. So
Huh.
here's the thing, right? So I liked WWF, and on Saturdays it would play in the morning, and then you'd get WCW or something else, and then Glow would show up, and you're like, it's women wrestling. My mother was way into Helen Reddy and shit, so I was taught at an early age that women are no different than men, and I'm like, all right, man. I mean, other than the whole like having kids and shit, like we can't do that, Um, but what I immediately noticed on Glow was it looked like they were actually really getting hit, like. Kyle, when someone pretends to take a punch, it's one thing. When someone actually gets, you ever watch a skateboard video and you're like, that's fucking way more brutal than what I just watched the Fast and the Furious do for 4 hours,
Yeah.
because they're taking real hits. So come to find out, I didn't notice at the time, they were really getting fucked up. So when they made this thing, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, the guy who put it together, um, owned casinos out in Vegas. And so, like, they were doing this every night in Vegas as an act on top of everything. So, and they had to stay in character all the fucking time. And he just hired actresses because they could do the acting part.
Hmm.
And then they had to go out there and be wrestlers. They get these really shitty lessons, but they'd go out and fuck themselves up, dude. Like, and you could tell, man. It was like, whoa, whoa, shit. I felt bad. I was like, oh, this is brutal. So I enjoy it. And Mean Gene Okerlund was on there too. So felt like it was a spin off of the WWF. It really wasn't, but it felt that way. So it was good enough for me. I was like, they got to do WrestleMania, guys versus girls. It was like my first thought of like versus,
Yeah.
crossover, intercompany crossover. Yeah. It all went
I'm
away when
only
he died, the guy who owned it.
uh yeah, I'm only 2 episodes in. I just started it last week. And then I went out of town for work, but
So last
I
summer
like
they
it.
put out a documentary on it, on the actual thing.
Oh yeah, MST3K just said he watched the reunion documentary.
Yeah, brutal, bro. Women suffered. We go, wrestling's fake. Well, yeah, it's a fucking show, man. UFC guys, they're not fighting every night or going. It's like a giant circus, dude. Like, so you can't go and have real fights every fucking night and get on a fucking plane and go. When you're
Yeah,
doing real fucking fights where we could probably kill one another.
got to give your body time to recover.
Yeah, you got to train for it, you got to prep for it, recover for it. So what they would do is, even in wrestling, they go on the road. They do it to this day. They go on the road. They kind of work out what they're going to do on these local circuit shows, and then the taping is usually on the weekend, and that's where whatever they worked out during the week, that's their trial run. So they just integrate the practice and get paid for it, kind of like what I do. When I want to try new shit, I just take on commissions and try new shit and get paid to do it. It's how I sort of justify. Um, but these ladies, man, they had to do it every night in Vegas. It's a Vegas show.
I'll be right back. I gotta go grab some water.
Sure. All right. Now I'm starting to get annoyed with this. This is not what it's supposed to look like. Fuck. There's a level of rendering difference that would have occurred in the same amount of time, and that fixative is ruining it. Need to let it go. I can't do it again. I need to let it go and just not do it on the next one. Spent too much time already.
I'm back.
Came this close to stopping and starting over. It's because I was able to get a fine tooth texture. And now I can't do it because that fixative is. It's hard to describe until you're doing it. You know? It's like trying to. Maybe I can't say this for certain, but I mean, maybe it's like trying to describe like how light falls to people who are like, they just see a light turn on and off, you know? You're like, I don't know. What do you mean? Hey, well, set up this thing. I imagine it's hard to describe. Other than to say, it's not quite turning out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, it's always interesting for me to see like art that artists are like, I did this and I didn't like it, so I just threw it away. Or, and from my perspective, where I can't draw or anything, I'm like, what? That's amazing. Why would you throw that away? At the same time, I'm like, yeah, I've shot stuff that I wish I could just throw away.
Right. Well, I believe most disappointment comes from expectation versus reality.
Hmm.
And maybe expectation even isn't even the best word. Let's say promise, right? Promise, you know, versus reality. So, like, when you see a trailer that gives you the promise of a film, and then you see the execution of that film, and you're like, whew, that didn't work out. In this case, I shouldn't have changed anything. It's a classic rookie mistake, you know. I thought with the texture fixative, it would have gave me more texture, but it just sort of chews up the fucking. Really doesn't. It's interesting how that works.
Is that just something you put down on the paper and it?
Yeah, well, look, yeah, you just put it on the paper and then you can keep going over stuff. So that being said, everything comes down to like how you execute too. So it can
Hmm.
have a function, but if I execute things a certain way, so on this slightly slicker surface, I get I was getting the result I wanted. I thought I would get a better result, and I did a test, but I didn't do the test in the same order I'm doing this now. Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I did the test over things that were already done and built on top of that. And thinking, all right, that's not what this is though. So in this situation, it's not working out the way I wanted it to. Um, Especially up in like the shoulders, it was not supposed to look like that. But I don't know, man. You know, I was not looking forward to the prospect of having to redraw this last night when I realized my pastel base was not going to work the way I'd planned that too. I planned that one out thinking, oh, that will work, and it did not. Um, so doing it yet a third fucking time, I just, will the person be happy? Certainly with this. Well, so I gotta let the customer be a little bit more happy than me.
Hmm.
Just because it's just not responsible at this point, given everything I have to do. This was the only one. Let's say if I only had three to do, then yeah. If I only had three of these to do, then I would just do it again. But there's so much to do. It just sucks because then you're like, what am I sitting here working on something that I don't even care? But sometimes that's life. Oh well.
But I've never worked on anything I don't want to work on.
I know. I know. I know. Whatever. As long as it's bright and colorful. It's when the colors get muddied I start to flip the fuck out. Can happen. got my hopes up there. Twitter had Toy Story World trending, and I'm like, are they making a Toy Story Land? And it was just a fucking level on Kingdom Hearts 3. They showed off.
Eh,
I was like, you
lame.
fucking dicks. You know what I mean? Don't trend that shit. Like, it's not. Yeah, look, that's nifty, but if you're gonna trend Toy Story World internet, let that be a fucking place I can go to. So yeah, lame, lame, like Cartman would say, lame. What'd you do on the 4th of July?
Sat around at home.
You didn't watch your every 4th of July, bro. I watched National Treasure. When I say watch, I say I turn it on and do something else because they're gonna explain everything as you're watching it. Is it the Covics that leave the spot? No, that spot is the fixative texture. So that you won't be seeing that again. Once I put color pencil over it, it'll go away. But yeah. I was just trying to lock in the inks because normally, like I said, I do the ink version and then I print out a copy, but I'm trying to do it all on one, you know? So I thought if I put this fixative, it'll lock in the lines because on my test they were smudging, but it didn't work out. Thanks for bringing that up. Trying not to focus on the things I'm like, ah. They'll be quite happy with this when they get it. You've seen most commissions you get, Kyle, right? You've seen a lot of commissions in your time.
Seen one or two. Yeah.
Yeah. They tend to look like color for most people tends to look like Sharpie renderings, right? Some people have like Billy Fowler does some dope stuff, but a lot of people, it just looks like yes, there's some color on there. Yay. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've been fairly picky about who I get commissions from. So most of the people I've gone through do pretty good job with their Copics.
Yeah, but you've seen commissions. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying all the ones you bought.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying you've seen your fair share.
For sure.
Yeah. You ever see them?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You ever seen them hand the commission over, and people look at it like, oh, and they're like, yeah. So, and they're like, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. And it's not good.
I've fortunately, I've only gotten one commission that I was not happy with.
How did that dialogue go? Does it go with the uncomfortable? Yeah. Oh. Like when you went on a bad date, but you had a good time, and you're like, yeah, we could totally do that again. Like, yeah, maybe sometime, like someday, maybe, totally, yeah. Well, don't call, I'll call you.
Yeah, I think I thought I did pretty good, and then I saw the lady.
With your best
Uh,
friend.
no, just a few months ago, and I was talking to her. She's like, I feel like I owe you another commission because she's like, I don't think I did a very good job on the one you got.
I thought you were talking about a date.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
thought.
why. So hold on. You're talking
No, no,
about the artist.
yeah,
It's
the
like I feel
artist.
like I owe you another date because I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, okay.
Commissions.
Okay.
Yeah, the one commission I wasn't happy with. She apparently wasn't very happy with it either. But at least I didn't pay too much money for it, so whatever.
That was a convention commission, right?
Yeah,
For at cons.
yeah. So I have someone else that I picked out to redo that character, so I can have a good commission of those characters.
When she said redo the commission, did she mean she would just redo it, or that you could just buy another one and she could have a second
No,
stab?
she said she felt like she owes me another piece, like another piece because it wasn't
Why
very good.
do they hand it out if they know it's not their best work? Because there's only
I
so
don't know.
much you can do. Like I'm gonna heck. Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Commercial art ain't quite the same as a test of capabilities.
Hmm.
It's quality, time, final decision, direction. You know what I mean? Like, do you control the direction? Do you control the quality? Do you control it? It's something you don't control. And at cons, there's only so much. I mean, I know pros that just have never even drawn sketches at cons. Pros, super pros, guys I grew up admiring, still working. They don't do it. And if they do,
Hmm.
they'll do like the same side head sketch or some shit like that. You've seen that, right, Kyle? Like they just do the
Yeah.
same little thing. And there's a reason for it because it's a lot that goes into art, planning, sketches, whatever. And to just bust stuff out and do like a genius little art piece, let alone how many people are coming up to your table, they want something, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you're just trying to pay your money back because it costs a lot of money to go.
Hmm.
I need to make at least 1,000 to cover everything and put a couple $100 in the bank, let alone you know if people are buying metal prints and shit, but just artists alone. So you're hoping to do your best, you're attempting to do your best. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you can't afford, you know what I mean? Like there's no like if you there's no refund on art, dude. It's just the way it works. Like now, if I was like, fuck you, I'm just doing whatever I want, and you're just going to be able to eat it. And we've met those artists in life, Kyle. You know what I mean? They just give you their
Hmm.
bullshit no matter what. Then, yeah, there's an issue with that. But sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not. So, but they just did 6 hours worth of effort, you know? It didn't
Yeah.
work out. So it's not like, you know, at least you're upfront with the client. I don't know if I would ever tell a client I'm not proud of that. That's not a that's not a good thing to do, you know? It's kind of like the same way like what if you felt like a comedian you didn't have your best night? You're gonna tell the whole audience, "Sorry, I'm not happy with what I did this tonight." Everyone, you can't refund the house, you know. Like it's sometimes you're not gonna be on your best. I mean, it happens. The way to mitigate that is to know what you're capable of, you know, to know what you're capable of, and create scenarios in which you can produce a good piece of work, even if you're not having your best situation, you know.
Yeah.
So I've developed a lot of little tool sets that allow me to do that. Um, the question is, are they happy? Look, as an artist, you got to be careful about your personal happiness versus are they going to be happy when they get the work, you know?
Hmm.
Now, I know for a fact that when the person who gets this piece, when it's all done, when it's all completed, they're going to be happy, you know? So I got to be very careful about like, okay, well, I can make it endlessly better, you know? So it's one little fucking thing, you know? My bigger concern going into this was how long was I going to spend fucking around with color pencils, you know? So, like, right now, the whole thing should be done. So, I got to think about this, you know? I got to think about this. How much I do with some of this stuff. So, don't hand them garbage. You don't. Wait, what? You don't, but you told them let me work on it. I try not. No, yeah, but then I'm paying shipping. You know, and when I come home, guess what? I have other things to do, man. Like, I got deadlines. I got family shit. You know, you don't want to go home from a con and take work home with you. I have one thing I have to do, and I just don't like the fact that I have to do it. He's already asked, "Hey, what's up with that?" I'm like, "Do you not see the giant thing I put up?" That's why I put that image with the words that said, "I will be out of town." You know, family
Hmm.
emergency. So if you don't see that, I don't know what to do. You know, like, um, whatever. But even when you're at work, like, put it this way, commissions are one thing. But let's say, I mean, I've worked in art departments, you know, so it's like when you're getting paid hourly, you know, you're getting paid. What if you're sitting there? You're not going to be able to produce your best every fucking day.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. You have to do. It's not like. Could you imagine if you played football? If you were an NFL football player, and you were literally on the field every day, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. You think you could play your best?
No.
It's impossible. That's why they have seasons. That's why their matches last only so long. That's why they have a whole week in between the next. It's rigorous enough. To do it every day would be impossible. And you certainly couldn't play at the level that they're playing now when they just go play a game. So, you know, art is a competitive thing. But, you know, we try to do it for a living, which it pays so little, no matter how much you're getting paid, that you have to do it often, you know? Unless you're a fine artist and then you're like, oh, I'll just. I mean, look, most fine artists have regular jobs. I knew 3 or 4 really successful fine artists. You want to know what they did during the day? They worked with me at Kinko's. So they get discounts on prints and shit. And they went and sold paintings that they spent, 2 weeks on at a time for, $3 grand here or there. But they weren't selling them, 3 grand every fucking day, you know? They weren't going to a show and moving 15. They were like have a show once a year, or they put some stuff in a gallery here or there, and so they would move something here, move something there. So overall, they were evening out compared to me having a, $50,000, $60,000 a year job, you know.
Hmm.
So We doing color? No, it's a mixture. It's a mixture of stuff. But yeah, we're doing some color pencil. So when you're in your art department and I'm like making shirts and you're like, is that my bit? Should they not pay me today because I didn't make the world's greatest fucking t-shirt? Like, no. You know, you come to find out it's not the world's greatest thing. It's what makes the person who would buy that happy. You
Hmm.
go into a store to get a shirt, you know, sometimes people walk out with the "That's how I roll" shirt, and it's just a really shitty drawing of a piece of toilet paper on a wall hanging. You know, the toilet paper. This is how I roll. That's an actual shirt. That was like the number one selling shirt at fucking Kohl's in 2007. I remember because I was like, what the fuck am I doing with myself here? You know, I'm not thinking.
All you had to do, Rob, is draw a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah,
You could have had the best-selling shirt.
you know. So I had to think about it. So this isn't a versus trying to make everything. I was making shirts artistic, and I was like, okay, this is not. I'm thinking wrong here. You know, that doesn't mean don't make art. You know, if it's going to be a roll of toilet paper, it needs to be, you know, it needs to be fun roll of toilet. It's so stupid, you know, but you know, but you don't. But I can draw a fun roll of toilet paper versus let me go get a photo from the stock photography of a roll of toilet paper and drop it on a shirt. That's some bullshit. That's how you get fired, you know, because no one's going to buy a fucking photograph of a roll of toilet paper. You're missing the point. It's funny because it's also kind of funnily drawn. Funnily, it's not a word. It's humorously. I don't know. It's drawn funny,
Fantastically?
fantastically
No.
sometimes.
Ah,
See, now we're just making up words now.
it's funiferous.
It's funiferous, yeah. It's funsticles. Like I don't know, man. Um, but look, man. I mean, drawing at cons is just like the trick. Like think about caricature art. I mean, I did that for a number of years, and you know those guys they sit there looking at you, and they could you know kind of fuck it up. And they get to look at you. I have to sit here and draw a picture of a character. You know what I mean? You got to invent some shit while you're talking to people and getting conflu and going to your hotel and stressing about the money you spent going there and maybe your significant other didn't even want you to be there or you know a million things going on. There could be a lot of reasons why the drawing didn't turn out. It's not did it turn out the greatest, it's did it turn out with something that's representative of what interested you about them in the first place. Right?
No.
That's basically it. You know?
Yeah, because like this commission I got, going back to that, um, she has a really cool style, most of her stuff. And the commission I got, I think she went for more realistic for the
Right.
characters.
Like she decided to
And
experiment at a con when that's not what she's
yeah,
selling, right?
and I was just like,
That's not
I
the
wish
time
it
for.
was like
Yeah.
that's not the style that of all your other stuff you got here.
So, like,
It's,
one of the things I've had to do when I put up example, that's why I always come with example. That's why I made, you know, this year I made 2 or 3 pieces. This is what I'm making,
hmm.
you know, verbatim. You're going to get something like this, you know? Might be the 1 hour less time version, depending on what order in the queue you are, but you're going to get something at this level, no matter what, you know?
Hmm.
When people come to me, but can you do it in your saucy? Nope. Can you do it in the gritty pencil? This is what I'm making, you know? I can do those things when I have that up. So you can choose from that when that's an option I give people.
Hmm.
So if you get a commission and you didn't get anything near that level, then that's on me, man. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just made a rookie mistake. You don't experiment. Well, I'm tired of my look.
Yeah.
You know what it was? She could have been sitting there all day and she's looking around and everyone has realistic, and she's looking at maybe why her stuff isn't selling, and she's thinking it's because of her art style. And I'm like, no, it's because I've got it all figured out, Kyle. It's because these other people are going to 8 other fucking conventions, you know?
Hmm.
And this convention, they did really well, but maybe that next convention they won't, you know? And they're taking the same stock they bought once. They're not buying new shit. They're taking the same stock with them to those 8 conventions. And that's how they're making their money back, you know?
Yeah.
Spread out across 8 different. I did the math. I have to do between 6 and 8 conventions to make a real decent chunk of change back on all my inventory. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. So my inventory needs to be significantly less moving forward.
Hmm.
Right now I got 3 portfolios worth of shit. I'm talking maybe 1
Yeah.
and a book. You know? And Kickstarter needs to pay for the book. So that's it. And I'm going to make all my money back on doing 15 commissions.
Yeah.
5 there, 10 online, you know? And I'll have to block in the time so it's all set up right before I go and right when I get back. And that's it. That's the only way other than doing the convention circuit, which I'm not going to do because I don't. This is why I can't be. This is why. Actually, this is one of the reasons why I stopped. I mean, I partook in a little bit of stand-up comedy when I was in my younger 20s. I'm like, I make people laugh all the time, you know, and I don't mind if I fail at that. I can start now. Here's the problem. You got to go everywhere, dude. You know what I mean? You got to drive places and shit and sleep on floors. And I met a few guys who did it, and I was like, you see how well I deal with traveling?
Oh, you love it.
You know, I don't deal well with that kind of travel, man. Conflu. Yeah. The worst conflu I actually got was at San Diego Con the last time I went for Game Fan when I had the booth, you know. Um, that conflu was so bad, Kyle, I thought I was going to die. You know, that's the only time I got that sick was when I was in the Army and they gave us the bunch of vaccinations. I got the Typhoid Mary one
Hmm.
because I was going to Europe. Apparently that can be an issue there. I don't know. Um, and guess who got a mild case of Typhoid Mary? Typhoid. Me. And I thought I was going to die, dude. I was just hacking up my entire lung. They had me on watch because there's nothing they could do. You know, they put me through it. The easiest thing we could do is let you roll. So they had me on watch in case I started choking on my own tongue and shit. It was bad, dude. Um,
So was that con sickness or was that vaccination sickness?
this time it was cons, but may as well. But this cons was so bad, dude.
Hmm.
And no stretch hack. But the cons
See you
thing
later,
was
Hex
bad.
Sketch.
Yeah, later. The
Thanks for hanging
con
out.
the con thing was bad, dude. It was bad con flu. Haven't had it that bad since, but yeah. I do a really good job. Like I don't use antibacterial soap except for when I go to con. So
Mm.
once a year I expose myself to it, so it actually kills germs that are on me. But I try
Question
to.
is
Hmm?
the germs they're giving you already antibacterial
That's the question, right?
immune?
And so
Yeah.
at some point, that's why now I got Brandon up there taking the brunt of it. You know, so a
I
little
thought
further.
they're
Hmm?
thought they were supposed to ban triclosan from hand soap anyway
I
because
don't know.
everything's becoming resistant.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't buy antibacterial soap either.
Yeah.
They're like it doesn't do anything except make things more immune. Like it doesn't help your hands get any cleaner than if you use regular soap and
Yeah, you just
wash
wash your
properly.
hands. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I have less interest. I have less fear of the con getting me sick as I do about the weird hotel room I'm in. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who was. I mean, I don't care how nice that room is. Rich people get fucked up too. Like I don't know who was in this coughing up, what hookers they had in here, who had God knows. I don't know, man. What's in the sheets? Did they really? So the hotel room scared me more than the con people. Period.
Reminds me of the episode of The Office where Michael and Dwight are in a hotel. Michael brings all these party supplies. One of them's a black light. He turns
Oh
it
yeah. That's hilarious. The minute he pulled it out, I was like, no! Yeah, that would fuck me up. If I did that, I would, you know, I just live in my car.
on. Yeah.
So, like, if you want to succeed as a hotel and beat out all your competition first year, make yourself have black light free room. You know what I mean? Black light, like, proof rooms. Like, you go in there with the black light and it's clean. Like, if you can get it that clean every fucking time, you know, they wouldn't, you know how they operate.
Yeah.
I know quite a few guys, man. They make a few bucks at con and they go right to Backpage.
So let me tell you about Backpage and human trafficking. I learned a lot on that documentary.
I worked in this art department once where every so often we had the art department was separated by guys and girls
Hmm.
because the female the women clothing to arrive how do I say this to arrive at what would work creatively in women's clothing they didn't want that intermingling with the creativity to arrive at men's clothing. You could say it's sexist, but you know it's just the way it is. So if I'm sitting here making jokes about this is how I roll, they don't want to hear that when they're trying to come up with girl power shirts. You understand what I'm saying? It's just you just don't need that mentality there. But we'd all like hang out and play foosball and fucking video games and shit. We had like a rec room, and so it was like 2005 or so. Some girl over there got the idea to go look up call girls on. Oh, it was right when Craigslist first started. And so then it turned into this thing where the girls would like just call, like just look at them and rate them. You know what I mean? Like competitively. I was just like, this is weird, guys. I mean, none of us could look at strippers at work. Why? I mean, let alone hookers. I mean, what do you? They just sit around, oh, her, no, 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 no. This was before that Hot or Not, or I think it was like right around the same time. Is that remember that shit, Hot or Not? Like you just look at it, and I guess it's before what they have now, swipe left, swipe right. Same idea.
Hmm.
They're like, what are you doing? They're like, they're looking at call girls. They're gonna order one. And I'm like, no, they're just clowning. Like I don't. Strange. Every couple of months, you just find them all crowded around the computer.
Yeah, that's how we got Facebook.
It's exactly what ended up happening. You know. Um,
Hot or Not College Edition. Do you often get requests for characters and you're just like, I've never even heard of this character?
never heard of this guy, and I worked on the license.
Okay.
There's too many characters in the licenses, you know. Plus, at the time, I was doing it for Walmart. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was Walmart or Target. They were like, we only want Ben 10, and they named like 3 other dudes, you know. And I could only work with those characters, so I don't bother to learn everything else at that point
Hmm.
because there's not enough time. You know, they're like, when they're like, get caught up on it, that basically means either watch all the cartoons at home tonight, um, or if they want to see shit that day, then you literally have about 10, 15 minutes to kind of look at everything. And while you're looking at it, you also like need to be developing. Like I would be writing down notes and sketching, like okay, now do, and then or screen capping and dragging them into little T-shirt bits on my I had a little T-shirt template, and then I would concept right over that because even if you take an hour, they come back an hour later and you don't have one fucking thing going, you would get you'd get written up. So I had to learn to develop very, 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 very fast.
Yeah.
You know,
Doesn't give you a very good chance to dive into like all the mythology of characters.
no, because they don't give a shit, man. You
Yeah.
know,
They're like, just draw me a picture, artist monkey.
the fans do. You know,
Yeah.
that's the most frustrating part when you do. Okay, like case in point, I had a buddy recently who worked on um, League of Legends for this company they were pitching to get it for activewear or something. Because anytime you get something, if you get League of Legends license for apparel, it has to be for very specific types of apparel. T-shirts is one thing, flip-flops is another, whatever. This was like backpacks and handbags and different shit. And my friend's very aware of that game, you know. So he was the first thing you'd normally do is drag and drop logos and shit. Here's a logo, but they were paying him as a freelancer. So generally, when you have a freelancer who's being paid per piece, you can drag the logo yourself. You know what I mean? You're generally not paying them for that. You know, why would you pay someone $250 to go bloop onto your template? You know, so he gave them real concepts using terminology and some inside stuff and stuff from the game and the competitiveness and different stuff. And they were like, "This is too insider baseball. We just want the basic thing." And he's like, "You want to pay me? All right." So he went and redid the fucking nonsense because he really needed the money. He just had a kid. He's like, "I need the money. I don't got time to argue with this shit." And then the people who run the game were like, "This is generic nonsense. You know, we want to see more things that are represented." He's like, and then they gave him an email complaining that he needs to do those things. He's like, I gave you a whole presentation full of it. He's like, well, it's on you to make sure that we do that. He's like, what? He's like, well, you need to like tell us, what? That makes no fucking sense. I need to convince you to go into a room and put up this art, guys. I don't see. He doesn't. Kyle. Like, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
I gotta convince you to take this art into the room that I'm not getting a commission for. You know what I mean? I'm just getting paid once to do. It's work for hire. It's not like it's not his fucking presentation. It's what do you want to go in the room with? You know? I wanted you to go in the room with this. That's why I handed it to you the first fucking time, basically. You know? I want to get paid, so, it was the craziest fucking thing ever. And this is a legitimate company that said this shit. I'm like, is that your excuse now for not paying people? That they have to convince you to go in with their shit? Yeah, so haven't heard of that one yet, bro. That was new. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to fix this belt and be done with this part. If you're not gonna get the result you want, then you may as well just wrap it up. I'll just fix that belt and move on. That's just higher ups covering. Yeah, it's the higher ups covering their asses. How are you gonna blame a freelancer? I don't even know. That would be embarrassing though. As a person in charge or close to person responsible to then say, well, the freelancer didn't sell me enough on it. I don't. Kyle, how do you do that? How do you even walk into that room? You got to pull out your best bill packs, and I got a little dick. It's pathetic. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, that takes a certain. That's exactly what it is. But I mean, I never heard of someone actually trying to pull that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, just contractually, bro, you just bring up the emails you know, and if they make an issue, then you can file the fucking stupid $200 fee down at the courthouse and start a fucking lien until they pay their fucking invoice. They're a business, so they'll have to pay it. But it's stupid. Heard they showed some wild footage of Infinity War at D23. That movie where was like, oh no, man, there's gonna be too many characters, and then they see footage like, oh my god, this is fucking epic. I'm like, why would you guys?
It's so amazing to have everybody.
I mean, I imagine what they. I don't want to spoil it, but what they said, I'm like, yeah, sounds like the guys that I've been watching make the last two fucking cool ass. They made Winter Soldier and they made Civil War, and they were both really good. Remember when everyone clowned the airport? They would show pictures from the comic. This is what it looks like in the comics. Then the battle was like just them on an empty airport. This is gonna be stupid. And then everyone came back. This was amazing. Like these guys know what they're doing. Those two directors.
The Russos.
The Russo. Yeah, they apparently know what the fuck they're doing, man. It's a rarity in this business, but yeah.
And Dan Harmon was saying that he's glad he hired him for Community because they're the ones that are like, we want this Donald Glover guy.
Nice.
He's gonna be a big thing. Like, all right, I guess we'll hire him.
Well, I saw him on that mystery team. She had me laughing. I love that one where they go to the hotel with their principal. And they think they're going to we're going to go on a camp out at a hotel. It's going to be awesome, sleepover. And then he gets back to the hooker talk. It's so hilarious, man. Adults stuck in that Arrested Development phase having Scooby-Doo adventures. hilarious.
I guess that means we should be getting an Infinity War trailer here pretty soon. For the rest of us who didn't go to D23.
Only if the footage leaks. And I don't know how it's gonna. Man, the security at D23 is.
I mean, don't they usually, like, I feel like most conventions and stuff, when they have a premiere, like, within a few days,
No, not when they
official
show the
release.
footage. They never, dude. They showed footage from Doctor Strange. They didn't show anything from that movie until like November. The last time
Oh,
they did one of these things.
it
Yeah,
wasn't a trailer, it was just footage.
footage. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
All right, that makes more sense then.
yeah. It was footage. It wasn't a full trailer. That's why I didn't want to say what I saw because I don't know if that's going to be in the trailer. You know, I mean I didn't see it, but what I heard. You know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess they'll probably debut the trailer with Thor in this fall. Would be
Yeah,
my
because it's the
guess.
next one, right? After Thor?
Black Panther's the next one,
Black
in
Panther.
February.
Well, then they may not. Black Panther might have a. Well, Black Panther already had that
Sorry,
one trailer.
sorry, Thor's the next movie, and then Black Panther's in February.
Okay. Maybe they won't. But who's to know? Like, again, when the Doctor Strange trailer came out, the first one, people were like, it's nothing like what we saw in, the D23 footage. So, whatever they're seeing now may not be evident to people until later on down the line, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy that Disney has like their own convention now. Because they're like, well, now we own Marvel and we own Star Wars. So we're premiering stuff
What's
for
crazy
Disney,
is they
Marvel, and
don't.
Star Wars.
What's crazy is
And
they
Pixar.
don't. Yeah, what's crazy is they don't need that convention for any of those three things.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. They actually had D23 before they had that shit. They had that to show off everything else they're doing. Because people just love Disney so much, you know what I mean? You know. You live in California, you know.
Yeah, I've seen some of those Disney people
Yeah.
that live the Disney life.
The one I don't get, my uncle is, because he got, I love going to Disney when I was a kid because I'm an artist, but I wasn't like the Disney worshiper, because I had anime. But the thing he was always into is those pins. I don't get that shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's people who like line up to get the pins and stuff. I'm like, you got me, man.
Yeah. People line up for action figures.
I don't.
Used to line up for Beanie Babies.
Oh, thanks for that in stock trades. I wasn't doing that to get the Spawn. I already pre-ordered that. That's coming anyway.
Oh, okay.
No, I wanted to see how much I would save on that Sam Keith Artist Edition.
Yeah, some of the artist editions, they only knock like 10% off or 5% off.
Dude, it was almost. It was 100, so it was $80. It's $20 off.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. $20.
Free shipping, no tax.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain. So I grabbed that, and I grabbed the Tokyo Ghost Artist Edition
Mm-hmm.
because it was like $12 or $11 or something. It was like a ridiculous amount off. So I was like, yeah, I'll just grab that. Yeah.
Nice.
I've been a fan of Sean Gordon stuff since, like I said, Shane Glines, 2003.
Yeah. Well, one of the best things about in stock is whenever I order from Amazon, they just toss the book in a box, and it just rattles around and comes just all like dented up. like in stock trades, I get the bucks. You can shake it and you don't hear any movement at all because they use like foam packing around it, like that expanding foam
Mm,
a lot of the
that's
time.
cool.
And so I've never had a damage book from them because they pack it really well. So
Yeah, eventually I'll get the bone. The last artist edition I want is just the bone cow
yeah,
race.
I'll let you know because they run sales on those every once in a while, and I got mine for way cheap.
Nice.
I don't know if it was half off, maybe
I
it's like
I didn't feel like waiting
40.
with the Sam Keith one. I
Yeah,
wanted to treat myself from this bullshit I've been dealing with. So,
yeah,
but yeah, then they do, let me know.
for sure.
'Cause it's not like I want a grip of them. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it's 30% off right now. $68.
Yeah,
It's not
it's good. It's just if I buy one more thing, my wife's gonna kill me. So
bad.
I've gotten a bunch of art supplies recently, and it's just got enough here. This is that fucking blinds I got that just are broke. They won't fix them. There. All right, almost, almost done.
Almost there.
I know. Now I gotta go to the store and buy some more ginger.
Almost there.
Buy some more ginger so I can make my wife some honey lemon ginger tea. Oh, so they announced they're doing a Gotham by Gaslight direct to. It was one of those DC animated things. And I'm like, man, they're gonna
Yeah.
fucking not animate the shadows on that one too. Like, I hope they don't just turn it into the generic. Cause it's my favorite fucking thing with Batman, the Gotham by Gaslight.
Hmm.
I mean, they say it's the first Elseworld story. It's the first official one. I always considered The Dark Knight Returns not real, but it was definitely like, different Batman. So it was definitely, clearly another universe. But I do like that book. But I was really disappointed in like that year one adaptation they did where there was no shadows or any kind of like textured. Like the samurai, they should have got the guy who did the Samurai Jack backgrounds for year one. Not to make them all simplistic, but the textures, the sponge brushes, and all that shit. Like it needed. Why can't they just? I don't know, man. They look so CG. Those things. Let's see where it is.
Have you read any of the Invader Zim comic?
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yep. The first 2 issues are written by Jonan. They're perfect. And when I say perfect, they deserve Eisners if they haven't already won them. Picks up right where the cartoon left off. Co-writer, he technically co-writing on the second issue, but I think it was just like try to like get the feel for how Jonan writes, because the guy took over with the third issue, and then it took him a few issues to get close, as close as one can get without being Jonan. You know what I mean? Like that guy's just got his own fucking thing, man. You know, I don't know how you. So, but it's good. They pack a lot in too. You don't feel like you're getting a little bit. You know, you feel like you got a whole fucking Zim adventure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because I had been looking at picking up the hardcover collection that just came out.
You would be happy.
But I was looking at that, and then they announced like a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that it's pretty cool, but it's $65. I'm like,
I don't know. What's the difference in the exclusive? Just the variant cover?
And it also includes issue number 0, whatever that means.
Yeah. I don't know about. You could just buy issue 0 separately. You know. And they're like, well, it'll only be available here. Then just get the digital copy, which will appear somewhere on the internet. So, I mean, the thing with those exclusive ones at con, dude, is I'm like, how much money you got to spend at con that you weren't already intending to spend anyhow on a book? I don't know. I don't know about like the Comic Con exclusive book thing. I've been dealing with that since the first time I went to con. And Comic Con exclusives used to be the exact same book you normally buy, but it would have a Comic Con logo on it. That was the exclusive. You know? I have my Wizard. Very first con I ever went to, I have Wizard issue 1. The Todd McFarlane signed by Todd, Comic Con exclusive. It's the same issue, just has the Comic Con logo on it, you know? Big toucan at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm not, you know, mystified by it. You know? For me, a con exclusive is something that I can really only get there. You know? Like if it was those, you know, pixel painted Turtles figures, which are only going to be available there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're going to be like 3 times as much. And if there's anywhere else and there's a chance I can actually get one, then it makes sense, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the regular Zim hardcover, like cover price is $50. It's only like a $10 markup, but you know, no one pays cover price.
Right. I mean, at next year's con, that Zim thing could be, 40, 50% off in a bin at the same convention a year later. You know?
Yeah. Well, this one won't be. They're only doing like they're not doing very many copies, so
Like if
it'll
the
sell
con
through.
exclusive come pre-signed, it's a better bonus.
It
Because
doesn't
then,
come pre-signed, but they are doing a signing with the Vader Zim artists for the comic, so I can get it signed.
yeah, I only care if Jonan signs it. The art's fine. It's just, you know. Like when I first went to my first con, Eastman wasn't drawing turtles. Lawson was. Eric Lawson.
Mm.
But I didn't care. I didn't, Larson's a fine artist, but I wanted, you know, Kevin Eastman's signature at the time, so it's just how it works.
Uh, oh, Johan Vasquez will be part of the signing.
The Johan? Or I can always call him Jonan. This is my
Yeah, or Johannen.
Johanan. There you go. I don't want to say it to his face. You don't know how to say my name. I'm like, say my name. Like I don't want to.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, that might be worth getting that book, getting it signed.
Yeah, if he's going to be there and you can get it signed, like you can actually get it signed, that would be worth it. Because it is good. I mean, like I think the Rick and Morty comic's fun, but it doesn't. It feels more the art. I don't know. The whole thing of it reads more like a Dilbert comic in terms of like it's more like comic strippy. The layout and the art reminds me of the Beavis and Butthead comic. It's fine, but the way they lay out and especially when Johannan whatever whenever he writes it, I mean it's just some crazy layouts because his fucking writing just it's out there. I'd bring my copy of Filler Bunny. Can you sign this too?
Filler Bunny?
You never read Filler Bunny?
No.
Yeah, he did this thing called Filler Bunny. It's awesome. His little mini comic. You know those Looney Tunes cartoons where Daffy's talking to the artist, the animator?
Hmm.
You ever
No.
seen that? It's like there's this classic. It's this classic Warner Looney Tunes thing where Daffy is talking to the animator. The animator fucks with him. Like the pencil comes down and fucks with him. It was pretty funny stuff because it was like the first time. It's probably the first time anything meta was ever done, dude. It was very meta. Uh, they made a really cool DS game using it where Daffy's on the game. It was when the DS first came out, and you got to be the animator. So with your pencil, you would draw things and fuck with Daffy. And he'd just talk back to you. Really cool game. So Filler Bunny kind of takes place where there's a little bunny, and he's talking basically to Jonan or Johannan, and he's just fucking with him. He takes away, he kills his favorite bear, shit like that. He's like, now I know how to feel pain. And thank you for teaching me. Like it's just sick shit. Like it's hilarious. If you like dark humor, drawn in cartoony styles, Filler Bunny's for you.
I, I do like dark humor.
It's black and white too, so it's got a cool indie. Came out when I was in the army. I got that overseas. Luckily, the comic shop I went to, they had a little English section. They they those Germans love their dark humor, dog. You know, yeah. See, Germans don't know how to laugh, but I'm like, oh, they certainly do. Filler Bunny used to sit there dying. Ha ha ha. All right, everybody. It's at the 4 hour mark, which means I'm way over. Fucking, it's double the time. I got to think about how I'm gonna do some of this stuff. I mean, if it's gonna take that long to color each one, then I'm gonna have to trade off some of my work flow for the next week just to get it done. But I gotta go run to the store and get my whack and hair cobbin. So I will be back on to do the background tonight. Right when I get her situated, so in an hour or two. What are you up to tonight, Kyle?
I might watch the other two, the Planet of the Apes movies to get me.
I tried watching that first one. I tried, man. Just can't do it. Can't do it. I'm gonna skip and go right to the second one. It's the whole like we could solve Alzheimer's with that. I don't know, man. There's something about that whole we could cure with this one thing that it's a trope I just don't. I don't know. I always feel like there's some message in there. I don't know what I'm supposed to fight for. You know what I mean? Am I supposed to fight for Big Pharma? Or am I fighting against Big... What is it? Like, I don't understand the message. You know, I know they captured a poor monkey who was just with his friends, and then now he isn't. I don't know. I don't know, man. You know?
See, they want you to have this internal debate about
Big Pharma?
If they can save people, if the ends justify the means.
Like, I guess if we didn't have the checks and balances, he could have just... You know, we don't need a FDA. Is that what they're saying? That there's too much regulation?
It's not enough.
I don't understand the message. So I need to kind of get past the medical message.
You gotta get past the message, Rob.
Yeah, and get right into like shit going downhill.
Yep, that's the important part.
That I can get into. I'm not a big medical drama anyway, guy, man. Is that a specific technique that I'm using with the Y? It's a specific technique. Popping things out. That's basically it. Popping things out. So, then I like to add little, like, speculars. So, I do these little, like, dots. Come over here,
Your blinds are the worst.
Oh, I know. This is the time of day when I try not to work. Whenever we get a new place, man, it will not be facing the same direction. So, whatever.
Need a north or south facing window?
Yeah. I'll work. Well, I'll get blinds that aren't broke. These blinds are broke, but I don't own this place. And they're built in. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've already said, come in here and fix it it's been like almost a year. He won't do it. So it was one of those ones where, you know, a little kid's been playing with it for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So it's just enough slit to create this effect. You know?
Yeah.
Just enough to fuck up right where I'd work. And by the way, it's the same spot where my Cintiq would be. So, I just can't work at this time of day. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna go take a break, and we'll
Eh,
wrap up the background. Thanks for hanging out, Kyle.
no problem. Catch you later.
Later.